futures pointing to a relatively positive open coming up this morning as we come off the best week since February for the S&P 500. Despite the continued fears of the new Omicron COVID variant continuing to spread throughout North America and the rest of the globe as well. Investors seem to somewhat shrug off inflation data last week as well. Remember, multi-decade highs for that November CPI number that we got at the end of last week. Despite that, the Dow was still up 4% on the week. We also broke a 4-week losing streak for the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ, up 3.8 and 3.6% respectively on the week. The key inflation number comes ahead of the next Fed meeting as well. We'll get the Fed's two-day policy meeting coming up this week where they'll maybe give more hints as to how much they're going to speed up their tapering program or tapering of their bond buying program. Markets also continue to monitor the spread of Omicron throughout both North America and Europe and throughout the world as well. 800,000 new, not new, but 800,000 total coronavirus deaths in the U.S. as of Sunday. The new variant has pushed some government officials to reinstate some restrictions as well. Speaking of, Moderna shares back in positive territory this morning along with NVAX. We'll have a look at both of those trading higher in the pre-market. Apple, very, very, very close here in the pre-market to $3 trillion market cap. We'll talk about Apple coming up. And a positive week overall for chip makers kicking off as well. We'll talk about NVIDIA a little bit. It is Monday, December 13th, 2021. TraderTV.live starts now. There we go. Look at how things stand at this point. Positive, as I mentioned, but only just for the Dow there in positive territory, 0.1% or 0.01%, 0.2 for the S&P, 0.4 we'll call it for the NASDAQ, trying to lead. A lot of that coming from Apple here in the pre-market. Brazil up 0.03% to kick things off. Crude a little negative. A bit of a choppy weekend, I guess, for cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin higher. Ethereum to the downside a little bit. We did get a bit of a move over Saturday night, but we're back to basically where we started 24 hours ago for both. Good morning, guys. It is Monday. Arun back for Sean. Sean back tomorrow. Heading into, I guess, the middle of the month here. We're looking at a bit of a positive start, but as I said, only just so far.
Yeah, welcome everybody. It was a little different that opening because on our end here, you guys don't know, you heard it just fine. We didn't get to hear the intro music, which oddly enough, I didn't realize how much that sort of pumps you up, like kind of right before we come on air. You get like, and then Rob's trying to, I mean, Rob, you did your best job. Thank you very much. Trying to like hum the music for us here, which of course Rob does it, but it's going to be, it looks like, well, okay. I don't want to set this one up, but the market looking a little bit decent today, coming in, and we're talking about Apple this week, 182.86. That is the magic number for $3 trillion. You just mentioned the chip makers, hopefully going to be strong, and then some additions at the end of the year to the NASDAQ 100 causing some moves today, Lucid being one of them, Palo Alto as well. So a lot to be looking forward to in this week. We'll see if they do hold up. Very, very interested to see what the futures do here, Arun, especially given the next 2 days. It's about the Fed meeting, right?
It's all about the Fed meeting at this point, right? You see how the market's reacting just to inflation news, and now everyone's keeping an eye on Fed. This is what moves markets. At the end of the day, everyone's trying to project what the Fed would do. So you look at these earlier numbers, these inflation numbers, you're looking at jobs reports. Everyone's looking at those numbers to figure out what the Fed is going to do, and it's about that time now. What is the Fed going to do? Because it's been hinted at that there might be some, adjustments. Maybe not increases in rates just yet, but at the same time, it could just be an acceleration, as Brendan mentioned off the top, in how they go about their bond purchases. That's going to be huge, and the market will react to that. When there's a change, any change, the market will react to that. So Wednesday is going to be 2 p.m. Wednesday. That's going to be the magic time for this market to go absolutely nuts. Until then, it tends to be somewhat muted for the most part when these markets are going into a Fed meeting, but at the same time, we're very, very strong. The markets are all not that far off from all-time highs. I think on the absolute number, I think the all-time high is like 47, 41 or something on the futures, and we're sitting at 13. So we're not too far off from the futures highs, or all-time highs. So this market has some activity in it, kind of built into it, before we get to that Fed meeting and where we kind of just die off in volume. But until that happens, there's definitely a lot of things that are moving, and Brendan's going to give us some more.
Yeah, it was actually a record close on Friday for the S&P 500. So as Arun said, we'll watch Wednesday, because that's going to be the big day of the week coming up this week. Obviously, the last final Fed meeting and decision on interest rates before the holidays and the new year as well. Before we go any further, Miss V is here. Good morning.
Good morning, team. Happy Monday to you all. I wish you a wonderful start of a new trading week. Please like this video and let's get it started, Brandon.
Let's indeed get it started, guys. Lots to discuss as we head towards the open this morning. Under 1 hour to go before we get the market open for a brand new week. Some deal making to discuss as well. We'll talk about the vaccine angle and the virus angle here. Moderna shares were higher in the pre-market, kind of coming off a little bit, but big deal for Pfizer announced this morning, picking up ARNA? Yeah, Arena Pharmaceuticals, $6.7 billion cash deal here, $100 in cash, guys.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Pfizer stepping into the purchase game there. You'll see in the position board. We're both long blue. You're my boy, blue. Anyways, I just... I don't even know why I said that, but that's on our watch list. So I don't know. Check that one out. Now, stop laughing, Rob. You're killing me here. That wasn't that funny. This is the thing about a monster deal like this. A lot of the pharma deals, because of the new administration and I guess cutting back down or putting more roadblocks in the way of getting big deals done with antitrust issues and whatnot. A lot of the pharma deals have been, I'd say, relatively weak when they open up and sort of favoring pulling back a little bit. A couple of things to keep in mind. A huge premium usually means people want to take profit, right? Like you want to get that money and put it to somewhere where it's going to be able to grow because it's a $100 cash deal. In this particular case, there's a part of me that says, don't forget about tax selling. Like there's going to be some people that are not going to want to book 90% to the upside if you had this thing. They're not going to want to book that gain right in the end of the year and pay tax on it. So I think there's going to be at least a decent number of sellers that hold off until right at the end of the year or the beginning of next year for this deal to go, when this deal eventually goes through. So for the day trade, I don't think it's going to be up the wheelhouse of a lot of people. I think there's a limit to how far it will pull back here. I know there's be some with a deal this big. It could take at least 3 quarters to pass, so there is a time value of money as well. But for us day traders out here, unless there's a really huge drop, I don't know if I'm going to be trading it. I think if it gets to like 90 or 91, you almost have to try to take a shot at this. There's no way it should trade at like 9 to 10% downside premium there. Like that would be a little bit too much. It has already fallen a couple of bucks. And I've been more short biased, I probably would have shorted this, but I just tend to think there will be some sellers that will hold off till next year to take their profit. Pfizer looking to expand as usual. That's why, as far as the vaccine names go, Pfizer is the one that they've got a wide book, like they've got a large pipeline. They're not just a one-trick pony. They give you that stability. And here, putting some of that cash to work, hefty premium though, I have to admit.
Well, when you look at the chart, let's just from the day trading side, because Neil's got it covered from the deal making side of things. Now, from the day trading side of what can you trade? Well, what was the name? ARNA?
Arena.
Yeah. That's going to be kind of hard to trade given the way it's going to move after a deal is announced, right? So, but Pfizer, on the other hand, it is setting up something that we can possibly work with here, just north of 43, because 43 has been a problem for us since, December 6th or so. And here we are, we got as high as 53. We got as high as 53.60. Or 80, and here we are coming back towards 53. There's going to be some old resistance that's going to work as support. So this is definitely something we can work with. If it kind of stabilizes a bit more, it has come off a little bit. It was about 40. It's come off 40 cents in the last 10 minutes or so, more than that actually, in the last 10 minutes or so. And here we are starting to stabilize a little bit. I just need some more action here around 53. If we get that support, you go for the long, you put the stop $1 lower, and you see if you can get north of 54. It's $1 for $1 because then you do run inside some resistance here just above 54.20. So there could be a trade on Pfizer, definitely. You just need to slow down a little bit because I think that move was quite fast here from 53.40 to 53 even. So we'll just keep an eye on this, but there is a trade to be made here on Pfizer.
Coming up on Thursday, the guys were mentioning some tax selling or possible tax selling. Coming up on Thursday this week, we're going to have Rahim Alani from OCI Groups here in Toronto back in the building to give us a bit of a wrap up of the year as far as some of the names we've talked about during his segment over the past 50 odd weeks or so, and take a look at how those have done. He's going to talk a little bit about some tax loss selling here going into the end of the year on Thursday as well. Let's discuss Rivian, guys, because decent move here so far in the pre-market. If you missed it, Motor Trend naming their R1T, sorry, their $91,000 Canadian R1T Motor Trend's 2022 truck of the year.
So you think it's pricey, eh? Or yeah, okay. Just correcting yourself to make sure, like, yeah, it feels a little bit pricey, but heck, they won the award. Although, you know, they weren't up against. This is not going to be up against, you know, when the electric F-150 comes to play, and the same thing for the Silverado, like in the future. So at the end of the day, this is going to be. I mean, look, Lucid's up twice as much, and they're getting added to the NASDAQ 100 than Rivian is after this award. I feel like Lucid got a bigger bump when they made their addition. The thing about Rivian is it's been. I wish it would show our trades, because the 125 area here, like every time it's popped up the last couple of weeks, it comes into this range, and it's been all kinds of resistance. So I kind of stick to that. You know, just go right back to this 125 well for a resistance level. There might be some better longs to be had, unless I'm talking about catching a fade, or not a fade, catching a bounce off 110 here, 110 to 112, where there's been support last week. It's just a 125 fade. I actually wrote down between 124, 126. That's where you want to be shorting this stock. It has to break out that price, you know, to be juicy. It's not a ton of pre-market volume here, not like that BLU that we're watching, or PTPI, or even like a Lucid. So I think Lucid's about to cross 2 million shares pre-market in the morning here. And I know Rivian's more expensive, but you know, it's doing a small fraction of that. So I think Lucid's going to be the one that's more interesting to trade. Rivian, fantastic for them. I think that's pretty cool. But you know, it was a short-lived bounce for Lucid when they got that news, and ultimately the story remains to be seen in the next couple of years when more of the competition comes online, when these are all in the streets, and we'll see what's up.
That's the thing, right? It's competition. What are they going to do? Rivian, it's great. You got an award. Good job. Thumbs up to you. Now what? Get the car on the road. Get some sellers. Then we'll talk about what this is going to, how this is going to affect the stock price. But for now, look at the way Rivian's been trading. It's been ranging for the most part. I mean, late November, we've been stuck. And I do mean ranging in a wide sense, because where's the majority of the volume? And we're just going to kind of put things in perspective here. 125 seems to be the high, and we've kind of put the majority of the volume around 110, 105, north of 105. So between 130 and 105 is where the majority of the volume is since late November. So the fact we're trading where we are now and we're not doing a whole lot, kind of break out of those ranges. Maybe we'll talk after that. Maybe there's a trade there. But I mean, and I'm talking from the day trading side of things, right? Because if you go long now, let's just say there's still $13 of space to the upper band of the range. If you go long now, where's your stop? Are you trying to catch a few dollars to the upside? If that's the game you play, then there might be something there. But it just seems like the risk is going to be quite high for what the upside could be worth inside the range. Of course, when it breaks the range, that's a different story. But for now, it does seem like it's going to be contained movement. And I do consider $5, $6, $7 moves inside of a range this wide to be contained. I mean, it's all about perspective, but that's just for me. It doesn't make sense to be putting up the risk that you need to let a trade work out inside of this range, given how it's been moving. So I think for this, I agree with Neil there on Lucid, because Lucid does look like a better trade, at least intraday-wise. And I do have an order out on Lucid, so I'd rather trade Lucid than Rivian.
All right, our friends at WonderFi out with a few news items this morning. We are so pleased that we're going to have both Ben Samaru and Marshall Sandman from Animal Capital on the show today at 10:45 to discuss a new initiative between the two. Money Goals, we're also going to talk about their app, WonderFi's app, coming finally in January, and some more initiatives for both. So coming up at 10:45, guys, stick around. WonderFi back on the show with Animal Capital. Josh Richards from TikTok involved in animal capital. So we'll discuss a few things that they have going on right now. Harley Davidson popped up early on this morning on news that their electric bike division is going to go public via merger with a SPAC. So we had Harley Davidson on the list this morning. Here, I can bring this over and show you this story as well. So here we go, $1.7 billion deal, including debt, for their electric motorbike division, I guess, going public via merger with this blank check SPAC, guys. So even Harley Davidson getting in on the SPAC action.
And why not, man? Actually, I guess the catalyst here, getting it off of the schneid, because it's been, I want to say barcoding, but finding support is probably the better way to explain it here. I saw a few people in the chat speaking positively about it. Hey, I'd be all for the Harley Electric, and it seems like the spin-off is a good way to extract some value. We're right into a little bit of resistance, and keep in mind, Harley's doing some good pre-market volume, up a million shares for Harley. That's a heck of a lot, considering we're not talking about earnings here, and we're right on the 200 period after, like I said, like barcoding and breaking back out off the 50 period moving average. Some resistance, like there's a lower high that got put in 42 to 43 that right now has been resistance in the pre-market. So it feels like a little bit of a no-fly zone up here on that news, and then, as much as I hate to say it, like if you're right between that 41 and 43 level and you're at the open and then you sell back down through 41, that 200 period, I would tend to think that ends up being a bit of a fade trade setup. As much as I hate to say it, I want it to be good news. But yeah, like if we fail to get through the top here today, and then you're sort of coming back down through this level at the open, and when you're failing to get through that high, when you look at the daily chart, that does feel like it's got some room to run to the downside. It's not top of my list here. Blue's looking pretty good. We can hit something for blue. Why not? We'll hit a keeper blue. Just looking at this a little bit more, and like you said, Arun, I'm liking Lucid too, but. This one was doing tons of volume. I'm skipping the line here because we have positions in this. But this was blue. That previous high at 765, 760 to 765. So when we came in and it was consolidating off of this level, got back from the bathroom, it's like, yeah, look at blue. And I'm like, yeah, I'd written down 65 as my level for blue. And then of course this little wick, it actually broke out here. That was a bad dark pool wick, triggers you in. It holds around VWAP and then holds the previous breakout price at 720. Re-enter the trade when it gets back above VWAP as a sign of strength, and I'm going to take actually about 2/3 of it out in front of $8, just because it's an even $8. It was a fail break earlier, so that looks good to me. I wish I could say I wanted a hog right now, but I'm going to be waiting until 9:30 for that trade. It is setting up for me to be a short off of that 42 level if it's breaking down at 41, but that'll be a decision made closer to the open. Yeah, and there goes $8 on blue.
All right, go back to hog. I think electric bike, that's such a cool idea. But here's my question with hog, right? Is their customer base loves their bikes because of certain aspects and features of the bike, which you're going to lose if you go electric. That means then you have to kind of bring in like amplifiers and electric things to kind of make the sound that it makes. Are you going to lose that customer base? Or are they going to just, they're going to be like, I don't care for electric because I want the sound, I want the feel. That's going to be one of those things that needs to be questioned. You will bring in a younger audience for sure, I would imagine, by bringing in electric, but at the same time, are you going to be able to move some of your existing customers or customers that probably need to get a new bike into that electric space? That remains to be questioned, but as a stock though, it's been sideways, like Neil mentioned. This is kind of one of those things where you get it out of the range, and now what? Obviously, there's a ton of resistance between 42 and 42.5. It gets out of the range north of 40. Is there going to be buy-side support going back below 40? And I think that's what needs to be kind of established. I want to see this trade below 40 before I even step in. Can you get below 40? Can you find buyers? Can you stay strong on the buy side? If the answer to that all is yes, then yeah, I'll go ahead and take a shot, because there is obviously a range break that you can play, but it all depends on what kind of movement we're going to get after the open. Maybe the next few days will kind of be telling of whether this range, given how it's a multi-day range, and we're talking like maybe I can go back to early November here since we've been around this 40 mark. So the fact that it's taken that long to be in this range, I can give it a couple days to kind of figure itself out. I'm not going to rush to the entry just yet because I want to see how well we trade, right? So we're going to wait a little bit. If we hold well, then maybe there's a trade to be made at some point this week. I'm not going to rush to the entry on this just yet.
Yeah, it's an interesting approach, I think, from Harley-Davidson, almost separating the two, right? So going in two separate directions, as Arun was saying there, possibly to attract some younger audience and attract a different audience for that product. But really, really cool idea for Harley-Davidson. Chip makers are higher here in the pre-market ever so slightly now. I just saw NVIDIA back to about 0.67, was up way more when I first sat down up here this morning. Up around some levels from Friday. I mean, 2 or 3 days in a row to the downside heading into the weekend, but I mean, this is looking like it's trying to hold, guys, but not very positive initially.
No, and look, NVIDIA has been under pressure for two reasons. It's not just, this isn't just about the ARM acquisition, and of course the news that they were, there's more scrutiny on it, and then certainly the delays that you're seeing, and the likelihood that it could get squashed, which was always a possibility, right? Like, it's a crown jewel tech company in London, and it had multiple jurisdictions that it had to get through because it's such an international brand. And then it's like they're essentially, their customer list is just a who's who of NVIDIA competitors. So there were all kinds of concerns there. But the other factor was its valuation. And then, of course, with the Fed and the tapering talk, some of the higher valuation names getting under pressure there, that it made those big run-ups. At the same time, you pull up your daily, can't go back too far back, so our chart's not split adjusted, but if you have a look at what it looks like since the post-split breakout here at 230, when it was in a range, and then it broke 230, you got a $100 move plus to the upside, and you've basically been holding that channel at the top. That initial spike, when you got that high of 328, the real low got put in around that 280 level, and we're still looking at that same low. The bulk of the closes have been sort of above that 300 is your new support level. And this is one of those where it's holding the line here at 300. Like, every time we trade down there, we just sort of manage to close above there. Now blue, of course, is at the high of the day. Breaking the high of the day. I think someone asked me, it was like, should I get into blue now? And I was like, well, you still have a risk of a double top at the pre-market high, so I don't like the risk to reward on the entry up there. I'm not covering anymore, but I guess if it gets to 850, I'll probably cover some at 850. But NVIDIA above 300, I think that's a big level. The day that it closes like at like a 298 or 299, I'd be more concerned that it's coming back to the 50 period. But until then, I'm looking to defend that 300. It just feels like one of these days we're going to get another push down, like 98, 99 or something, and then you're going to get a real flush. Until that happens, if we get a dip, I'll try the dip buy because I like the risk to reward to about 98.5. Of course, I just said like 850. There's a big time seller at 820, just holding it over and over again on BLU. But I'm going long in front of 300 NVIDIA. There's a 298.50 level for support as well.
Exact same levels. I agree with Neil there. 298 is going to be the marker. You can go for a long. I would wait though. Personally, I'm going to wait to see how we react around this 302. You can put up like $4 or $5. You're going to have to put up like $4 or $5 in risk if you want the long off the initial move. Obviously, you can wait for a much better price, but I think the resistance you're going to get or support you're going to get is going to be somewhere around that 302 mark. We'll see how it opens. If it kind of slows, I want to wait for a slowdown here before we kind of step into it, because technically we haven't cleared the upside resistance either, 308 and change. Now, if this market was above 308 and we were kind of dipping down a little bit, I'd go ahead and put the bid down and just try to get a fill off the push down. But given that we're still technically within the range bounds, I'm going to wait a little bit just to see how we trade before I step in. I'm watching blue here. Maybe I do want to get some out. I don't know. I'm going to wait a little bit more. I want to see how this 820 trades, and then as Neil mentioned, there's a decent amount of volume coming through 820. I might want to dump a nice little 58-cent winner right now. Brendan?
A few notable analyst moves here this morning, guys. Speaking of chip makers, there's Micron top of the list today. Coke on here, Pfizer, Spirit, Chewy to the downside after a decent week to end the week. Anyways, last week, Comsco, Merck, and Robinhood back in negative territory as well.
Yeah, one of those downgrades, Chewy there, of course, we talked a little bit about this one last week. It's still not at that $50 level, but it's on the radar again. And I thank Arun for this one because, on my iPad here, I keep levels and I keep some stocks I'm looking at written down and some symbols. But on Monday mornings, I tend to clean it out, and I should always make sure that I'm looking at some of these to see if it warrants that. And I kind of ticked away Chewy there for no apparent reason. This 50 level is still very valid. It flushed down there on the earnings report after market. It double bottomed at 50. So as long as we're in this range, it still hasn't broken back up. This is your 53 high. It's still very valid on a 50 break. So I'm watching Chewy. It's $3 away. Well, sorry, it's a couple of dollars away, $2 away. So the likelihood on low volume that you're going to get there may not be top of the line, but I'm still looking at that Chewy 50, which we were looking for a break last week. I mean, I guess not just Friday. We looked for the same thing here Monday morning. It's the only trade I like on Chewy on the board there. Micron looking strong. So if the chip makers are going to be good today, I like Nvidia for the levels, but certainly we'd like to see them start to go. Micron getting an upgrade, doesn't really hurt things either.
Chewy, box it in. That's all I can say. We've got 50 on the bottom, 54 on top. Let's get a move outside of either end, and then you kind of go with it. If you break down, you go for the short. You break up. I would be long. I would go for the long, but I would hesitate a little bit. But definitely not inside that 54 to 50 area. So $4 wide. Just an update on blue. I did dump some here at 820. There's a lot happening here at 820 in terms of volume. So I'm going to take some out. That's a nice little 60-cent winner or so. So we're going to keep the rest, and we'll just manage it out and see how this open goes. But in terms of Chewy, box it in, right? 54 and 50. Outside of either band, you go for the long or you go for the short, however it goes. And then Lucid, just to mention, we were talking about Lucid longs. I want to grab a long just in front of 39 on Lucid. Why? Because we kind of got through this area here, this 40. Area that would have been acting as somewhat of a resistance here based on the last couple of days, and here we are above there, coming down and dipping back in. So I want to catch some support, see if I can grab it as close as possible to 39 even, and then the stop on this is going to be, where's the stop on this? It is going to be south of 35. So it's a $4 risk if I'm going to take the trade here, but if I get to 39, I'm looking for at least 42 to 43, right? That's at least $3.50. I can put up $4 to get $3.50 or so. So Lucid's one I'm keeping an eye on. Well, not keeping an eye on. I've got an order out there for Lucid. And what else do I have? I've got Home Depot as well. I've got an eye on Home Depot. Home Depot is doing something interesting that I can work with. It's kind of, oh, no, this is not the Home Depot chart. This is the Home Depot chart. There we go. That looks weird. Okay, here we go. It's a multi-day kind of move to the upside, just north of 415. I like the way it's moving. It got above this resistance here around that 414, 415 going back to early December, and then we kind of spent a decent amount of time underneath that, and now here we are above it. So if I'm going to be able to get a long, it's going to have to be right around this 415, 415 and a half area, and then the stop on this is going to be just south of 412. So $3, $3.50 maybe on risk for Home Depot.
It's worth mentioning on that Bellis Health, BLU. It's actually not one of those teeny tiny little float type deals. 66 million on the float for Bellis Health, 438 million there on the market cap. So legitimate movement on BLU so far this morning. Intel up here, I'll just drag this over so you can see it. This just coming across, Intel investing $7 billion in a new facility in Malaysia. So a little bit of a pop for INTC there on that. There's also this one that just popped up again, Datadog, 2.5%. Another one that's being added to the NASDAQ 100 coming up the beginning of next year. So I guess it was just back through 179 there for DDOG. Zscaler was another one, ZS on that list as well.
Yeah, there was a few names to that list. Lucid being the biggest one and actually getting the biggest reaction here. Datadog, it's actually had a decent, more than decent recovery, I want to say, off that 150 level. And, I'm looking at support here at the previous breakout. You go back to November, early November, previous break at 170. That's your 50 period as well. You get the positive catalyst of the addition. It could be a bit of a sell the news type of event, but I feel like there will be, because they're going to the NASDAQ 100, there should be some buyers if it were to retest that 170 on Datadog. The volume's just not there. Like we keep saying, Lucid's got to be the one because I'm not really seeing a heck of a lot of volume. There's a lot of people asking in the chat. I don't think we talked about Apple yet. We're definitely going to get to that. But another name that I was in very, very briefly here that just got a bit of a volume spike, AVCT. I was actually trading. It got an accidental trigger on this little wick down here. These little pre-market wicks get me in when I didn't really want it. 249. I should have got out right away, but I decided to hold it and then basically get out when it comes back to flat. That's sloppy. But it's this one just popped back up. This is a play from last week. So this level here where it's at 250, I think this could be a good price for a fade trade, but I think the risk is more to 65, the afternoon high, to about 75. Like that's your band where you want to be short in front of. So trying to be a little bit more patient than accidentally shorting it at 250 on a breakdown. I'll wait till the open, but starting to get off the bid. So if it gets a little bit higher, I'm likely to try to take a fade. Or short trade. I keep saying fade because I'm used to it, but short trade is what I mean by that. But AVCT on my radar once again. I don't think this one made our watch list, but just wanted to get that to you because we're starting to pop closer to the price that I want.
All right, I see the chat asking about new. Yeah, I'm looking at it. It's on the alert, but you really can't do a whole lot until it crosses 12. Yeah. And I think 12 is the market to look at, right? We're at 1176, creeping ever so slightly higher. This was what day? This was the 10th. So this was like Friday. And you see the move off of 12 and then down to 10, and then kind of working its way. It looks like it wants to continue this uptrend slightly. Obviously, when you put it in perspective, this is what the chart looks like. So we've got as high as, well, I don't know why that's there. That should not look like that. It's around 1230, I think. 1225 or so is the high. So we're right here. That's where you have to essentially trade against. You have to go 1225. I can't even get the line drawn. But 1225 on the top end, and then this little angle of a move towards that 12 even, 1225. It's not going to be just 12 even, given that we've already kind of put a high marker through there. So just keep an eye on this. We are compressing towards it, but it's there. It's just a matter of when it happens is when you've got to take the trade. You can't really set up for it because there are other things that have to happen, given that we've already crossed this 12 before. So just keep an eye on it, though. Going back to Zscaler.
I had a quick question for you there, because for me, and like this could be, I don't know, just curiosity, because I'm looking at that 25 as like that's the break.
Yeah.
And I could be, and honestly, I could be skewed because I took the 12 break when it actually went on the IPO day and was able to barely escape from that 12 trade. Like, you got a couple scalp trades, and then my last out on the 12 break was, all the way back down to like 1150. So it took like a 50-cent hit on the last third of that position because it just snapped back so hard. So part of me thinking it's got to get through the 25 because I don't want a failed break through 12 even. So I don't know. Like, I feel like I could be sitting it out and missing out on like 25 cents there, but to me, I'm kind of looking at it having to break the all-time high, I guess.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. It depends on how you enter, right? There's some trades where you can some setups that you just enter because it broke the round number. And then there's other trades where it's a round number. The high might not be at the round number, but if it kind of gets above and trades well above there, then once it gets to that all-time high, there's going to be stops going off, right? So you can position ahead of that. But it all depends on how it breaks and how it sets up. For me, new already, done what it done above 12 even. I don't know if I'd be comfortable kind of stepping in just immediately on a 12 break. You wanted to go 1225, but I'm also very hesitant to go off of just straight up breaks.
Right.
I like to see how it trades first, right? So I'm a little bit, but that's the approach. Sometimes you miss trades when you do that. Like, I like to see how it trades before I jump on a break. I know Sean loves to step into a break, and the difference is that sometimes you catch moves that just absolutely go. A lot of times, because I'm waiting for certain things to happen, I'll miss a lot of the high flyers. I'll position trade. It depends on the strategy too, right? If you're momentum trading, you want to just jump in, cash out, cash out. For me, if I want to position trade, I'm going to be waiting for certain things to happen. I'm okay missing momentum movers because I know I can position myself a certain way, and then when it gets going, then I'll be okay with it. But it depends on how you trade. If you like a momentum trade, then obviously the round number breaks are great, and then you got to keep an eye on like the absolute highs and whatnot. But if you like to position yourself like I do, then it's okay to kind of just wait for certain things to happen. And if you miss it, you miss it.
Just seeing Remark Holdings popping up here, guys. Heads up. Remark announcing a deal with IS Media in the NFT space. So heads up on Mark. 4% there, a little move on volume. Let's get a check around if we can on the overall market and look at the futures here. We are still positive, but only just.
What are we? 0.09 is what we're up right now on the March contract. We have fully moved over to the March contract on the S&P futures. December is no more. It expires on Friday with the with everything else happening on Friday with the rebalances and the expirations of options and index options and single stock futures and futures. That's why it's called quad witching, guys. For anyone who wanted to know, so there's a lot happening on Friday, right? So we've moved from the December contract into the March contract, which is now the front month. Well, it was a front month as of Friday, but now is where the majority of the volume is sitting as well. So now trading this. How do you, let me get this zoomed out. You guys need to see the multi-day move here. The way it's moving, we finally got above that little 4700, and this is specifically to the March contract, because if you look at the prices from the other contract, they're going to be slightly different. So based on the March contract, 4705 would have been the high. Finally got above it, traded all the way up to 22 and a quarter, and here we are back underneath 4710. I'm okay with the long idea. I just don't want to jump in it just yet. The reason being, there's a lot happening around 4720. We kind of attempted multiple times to get through there, so I want to say there's a resistance level up there. So it doesn't make sense for me to step into a long around 4700 if my risk or my upside potential could be 10 to 15 points, but my downside, it could be 30. I mean, it could be 30, 35. I've got 4670 marked off, but 4670 only if it trades a certain way. If it doesn't, then I've got to use the other level, which is right here, 4630. So I've got two levels marked off, 4670 or 4630. Depending on how 4700 sets up, I obviously would prefer to split the risk here. If I know the top is going to be 4720, I know the bottom is going to be 4670. So I've got a 50-point wide, so I'm going to have to put up at least 25 points. I don't want to put up more than that. So 25 points would mean that my price on this entry has to be at least 46.95 to make the risk make sense, right? So obviously that's below the 4700. You got to finesse some trades. Some trades, they got to be finessed this way just so you can control the risk on a trade. And I'm all about risk control, especially on the futures positions. So we'll see how it trades below 4700. If we can get it as close as possible to 46.95, if it sets up. Of course, if it really sets up and it doesn't look like I'm going to get that 46.95, I may just, kind of move it up a little bit. I'd be okay with risking a little bit more if the setup is that great. I know in the chat someone mentioned that anything more than a 1-to-1 is a little bit of a high risk. Yeah, it depends on what your win ratio is. Sometimes you can't really get back to 1-to-1. I know a lot of my trades, I like to go for 1-for-1, but sometimes I'm putting up, maybe I'll get 0.75 return. And I'm okay with that because the probability is high enough. It's a math game. At the end of the day, it's a math game. As long as your probability is high enough, you can make up for the risk. But you got to be on top of your game in terms of knowing that before you kind of take those shots, right? Otherwise, yes, 1-to-1, ideally at least, before, some people prefer 2-to-1 risk reward, 3-to-1 risk reward. Then you kind of fine tune what you're looking for in your criteria. But for me, the way I trade, I'm okay with the 0.75. Or something along those lines. I don't think I go any less than that, but 0.75 in return for 1 is good enough for me. But for now, we'll keep an eye on 4670 on the bottom and how we trade around 4700 for potential long on the futures.
All right, let's get into what else is moving around in the pre-market here. That is the watch list, guys. The link, if you need it, Miss V will help you out in the chat. You can use a QR code as well. The absolutely free to you every single morning watch list. Apple, top of the list once again this morning. I was just trying to check if we got there. I don't think we quite got to that magic 3 trillion number, but it came very, very close, I think. About 182.25 at the top, it looks like, coming off a little bit here. But everybody watching the 3 trillion mark for Apple.
Yeah, Apple, the new momentum stock du jour. 182.86 is the number that you got to be watching for here today. About $1.25 away from that right now. It got real close. I mean, 182.22 I have as a current pre-market high. It's a crazy thing to say, but Apple's it's gotten heated, man. And obviously, you start thinking about the fact that after that report of possible demand issues, and they've come out and said there's more than enough demand to meet the supply that they currently have, which is different from saying that they have demand where it's expected to be. That's kind of sidestepping the issue. But either way, it's been a ridiculously strong week. We had a good long in Apple, off that 175 level. Like when it got through this chop zone here from Thursday, It was good on the break, it was good on the dip, and sort of just riding it into the close. And then you had the spike up, like right at the end of the day, you had another spike to the upside. I'm looking at that positive to negative threshold right around the close at 179.50 to be a bit of a dip buy. This close, taking a long break here, like looking at this and saying 182.20 is the high, taking a long break into that 3 trillion number, the 182.86, don't love it, don't like it at all. As a matter of fact, anticipating a potential pullback through that number makes a little bit more sense to me than taking advantage of a dip in front of it is how I'd prefer to play it. So I am looking at that previous close right now at 179.5. Certainly that sets you up for a potential bounce at 180 as well, because you got 50 points and change down towards Friday's close. So I don't like a breakout here in Apple because it is too close to that. It's an arbitrary number in that 182.86 isn't the round number or anything, but that 3 trillion mark is a rather large one that everybody is going to be looking at.
That's the thing. Everyone's looking at the 3 trillion mark as this big thing. And I'm just like, well, great. And then what? Oh no, there's a company that's worth $3 trillion. Is the company the way it's moving? It's like you said, it's the momentum. It's become almost like a momentum trading type of stock now. It's just like a checkpoint. And can they maintain? There's so many questions after that too. Can they maintain? We know Apple's a great company. They sell well. There's a huge market for it, and they have the car coming, or they have plans for a car coming out. All those things are helpful for the company. But this crazy run, and it does seem quite crazy at how thin these moves are. And when I mean thin, it's like how we're moving, 178 towards 180 in about 15, 20 minutes right at the end, as we kind of just get to this not imaginary, but this checkpoint that everybody wants it to get it to. Like, let's get it to this price. And then what? And someone said, in the chat, and I kind of agree with this, like it gets there and then it kind of waterfalls. I'm like, I can see that easily happening because everybody just wants to get it to a certain thing to say that it's been done, and then we kind of have nowhere else to go except based it on the actual company's moves. Is Apple a great company? Absolutely. So is Microsoft, right? So that's why they are weighted heavily in these two indexes. But the way it's moving provides opportunities. I'm keeping an eye on 179 on the short side because I want to see how it trades below 180. Because this is going to be interesting because when this momentum runs out, at some point before this actually starts to go in the direction of a nice little portfolio build, this momentum has to dry up, right? And when it dries up, you're going to have a drop. And when does that drop come in? And that remains to be seen. But I think below 180 is going to be a real test of how this market's going to handle Apple's sudden moves to the upside, because it went from as low as 175 to 180 on Friday alone. Don't get me wrong, Apple should move, but that seems kind of excessive for just the latter half of the day. So we'll see how this trades. There's going to be an opportunity, whether it's to the upside to continue this, and maybe we go to 200. Who knows? We can just put up some random numbers up there, and maybe Apple will get there. But I think 180 is going to have to be the real test point to see whether this can be maintained to the upside.
Pretty impressive couple of weeks for Apple. We saw at the beginning of the show, 0.3 for the NASDAQ. A lot of that had to do with Apple. Moderna here helping as well, 1.5% in positive territory this morning, along with some of the other vaccine makers. NVAX notable as well. They're applying for emergency use for their vaccine in the EUA, I think it was, for NVAX. So they're moving. J&J, Pfizer as well with its own separate news as we discussed. But Moderna, interesting here, had a pretty solid day back on Friday, trying to stay above those highs.
I would say Moderna having a solid day on Friday is a bit of an understatement, because it was the biggest, well, it probably wasn't the biggest flush, but it was the biggest flush in terms of momentum stock in the pre-market there. I say you can't call it the biggest flush because the second the market opened, it found an unbelievable bottom. Moderna did, and I tried shorting it on the way back up at 250, and that's the problem with. If you like a level when the floodgates are breaking to the downside, that is a very different thing than when you get a wipeout low and then you retrace towards that level. I still like the notion at 250, and in fact it did at least put in the only decent pullback. If you look at that move, the only decent pullback was when it failed at 250 on the 15-minute chart here, and that was your only chance for a win, but ultimately the rest got stopped out. It then went right to, I guess, the morning high here at 260, 261, which has gotten to be your support level. I really wish this thing, to be honest, was trading cleanly above that 261 price. If it was trading cleanly above here, I think you'd have a much better sort of structure for a long trade. You sort of give it back to like that 55 area, but it's sort of teetering right here. And as long as it's below, it's in a bit of a no-fly zone between 55 and 61. I don't like it in between those two prices, so you're gonna have to count me out. If it breaks 250 again, it's probably going right back into short territory. So I think that level definitely maintains. Formula Hex there, $5 super chat. Charge Pointer EV Go. I mean, I don't own either one of them. My exposure is basically just over in Tesla, General Motors, and I keep pretty simple. When you come to any kind of a structural play, I just have some lithium in Lithium Americas, and then on the hydrogen side, I have Plug. Like having more than that for me, gun to my head, I'm going to probably tell you Charge Point there, but overall, I don't really have any skin in that game. But thank you so much for the super chat. Moderna for me, it's a no-fly zones. I still like the 250 breakdown. If it even sniffs that 286, you know how good it is up here for a short. So if we see 280s, which I don't think is happening here today, I think that's a bit of a fade play. If you like it, I can't say it's a horrible idea to try the 264 long, but the last time a long setup like this in Moderna, it didn't work for me, so I won't be getting into a long here if it breaks out. So this is a no-fly zone between 55 and 64 for me. Moderna
is a big nope for me. For anyone who's watched, I've complained about Moderna many times. I just can't get a read on Moderna. It's one of those stocks where I just don't know how to trade it. So I don't trade it, but I do trade NVAX though in its place. So NVAX, I do like the way, somewhat the way it's setting up. I think we're sitting here right around that 170, 172 area. There's some resistance, but there's also some support building. So you get a nice little move to the upside. You're going to get a nice little setup to the buy side. But 160 is the marker here. 160 is where if we were to break, say, 165 and put, like this is what I would prefer on Moderna, not Moderna, NVAX. Break 165, snap some stops down, and then come right back into 168, 170. At that point, I know the stops have been cleared. I like to go for the long, 160 stop, 170 long. That's what I would prefer. Obviously, the way things move, not exactly the way you would prefer. If it were to go to the upside, I leave it alone. If it were to just kind of go sideways around 170, I leave it alone. I would need that spike below 165 to kind of go for that long. 160 would be the break. Of course, if we broke 160, that sets up a new potentially short trade on NVAX. But it all depends on when it does it and how it does it, because I don't know where the stop is. If it broke it right now, I have no clue where the stop was. So I need some trading to be done before we break 160, but 160 is the level, whether it's to the sell side, below 160, or to the buy side after a failed 165 break on NVAX. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not even paying attention to Moderna. Pfizer, though, we were looking at Pfizer, right? Pfizer around, after that announcement there, bounced, damn it. It was going to be around that 53 mark. I should have paid more attention in 53. This was the trade here. So I'm going to go ahead and put the order in. I do like the idea of Pfizer long here. Can't believe I missed that. Brendan?
Final, about 12 or 13 minutes ago here before we get to the open. Just watching Intel a little bit there after that headline we got. Also Ford on the list this morning. What a day it had back on Friday, getting to a fresh 20-year high after putting out some pretty lofty and increased electric vehicle projections. So right from the open on Friday, just straight higher. 21.5 ends up being a bit of a level here. We're coming off a bit. Whole market's coming off a bit here, but pretty impressive on Friday for Ford.
Yeah, I think someone was asking me just now about NIO and NIO 34. I was looking at that. I think support, I think closer to 33 to 33.5, but I do prefer XPeng if I had to pick a Chinese EV name. I'm on the bid in front of 21 on Ford already. Look, the afternoon dip price here came right back into 2090. So if I can step in front of that, I like it. You get that all-time high, fail break, ignore these wicks, they never happened. But your previous top, this 2085 area, yeah, that's just what I want to be bidding in front of. So for now, it's in front of 21. I think you're giving it at least back to that 85 point. So buying the dip, I do prefer it over the break. I mean, breakouts have only been okay, right? Ultimately, so I'm going to stay away from the break. Just for those of you that are looking at the all-time high break, it would still be the level from Friday, like that 20, I think it's like 21.58, and where it got to in the aftermarket. This wick up here didn't really trade up there to 71 to my knowledge when I was looking at it. So, I think 21.58, 21.60 would still be your breakout price. I'm buying the dip in this particular case, so you won't see me step in front of it and just, for it. You don't always expect there to be a gigantic range on it, but keep in mind that it did put in a full $2 move and a monstrous run up, and then you're going to get a somewhat of a double top here in the pre-market and then the aftermarket there. So I'm anticipating a pullback, and hopefully, first support level holds. If that doesn't, there is some cover at the 75 mark. If that goes, obviously it gets a little bit deeper. I'm just not thinking that's going to happen. So, pardon me, when I meant recent high, not all-time high, but recent high there. It's a 21.58 level from what I can tell. These dark wicks, there's been a lot of them this morning, Arun, and you want to make sure you're not just looking at, like a chart or in sort of taking everything literally. Like a lot of times you see a wick like that without a volume spike, you can tell that it never actually traded through that price. So I can know that we're still looking at that 21.58 as a potential top there on forward.
I'm not even looking at forward. The way it moves, I'm not a fan. Obviously, it's moving great as an investment piece, but as a day trading piece, it's kind of tough to figure out the levels. Maybe if you had 2050, that was a trade, but now what do you do with it? I'm not sure. So I'm not even going to bother looking at this. I do have Lucid, so I am trading some motor names here. Somebody asked for the amounts locator. Here you go. AT&T at the top of the list, sell side 333,000, Pfizer buy side 310, and LYG sell side 273. Those are your top three. Blue is having a hard time with these 820s. Now, I got some out at 820. You can see on the chart here, I dumped some at 820 after seeing the volume. Neil mentioned it. I looked at it. I was like, yeah, okay, there's something going on here. So I dumped right at 820, taking the 60 cent. Now I moved the stop on this south of 770. So if we break to the downside, I want no part of blue. I am done for the day on blue. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that. But I'm done for at least this initial move. 770 break would have killed all my long setups that I would have potentially had. Obviously, if we break 7 even, that's maybe I can set something up there. But for now, though, we're just going to trail this. So 60 cents on the first half, and we'll maybe walk away with 5, 6 cents on the second half if 770 goes. Of course, we can hope for the long, nice little push off the open. That would be nice. I would appreciate that. I just picked up Pfizer. Hey, Pfizer came back in. Sweet. Pfizer coming back in now. Giving me a nice little fill in front of that 53. So here we are, long Pfizer after missing that initial 53 long. So trade's still good, so entry's still good. So we're going to leave the order there. I also have Home Depot as well, which is actually killing me on the spread right now. What is
that'll get spready stock.
Yeah, I mean the spread is like $1.50. So going long in the pre-market on something like this is not exactly the best of ideas if you're worried about spreads. But the stop on Home Depot is 44.12 by the way.
I'm just going to update because I know you updated blue. I like the 765 level just because it was a previous high, but I've thrown my stop, my trail at 750. I needed to fall a little bit further than that. I look at what happened here. I want to sort of recover that 750 level. So I'm giving it, it's a distinction without a difference, but that momentum really hard reversed at that 820, as Arun definitely mentioned. And I'm on the bid as well on Lucid. I said I'm a little further back. 38.30 is a level there. And Rivian, which could still be in play. I mean, it's starting to fall off as well. I think that one's got to like a 110 level. Like we said, we're on the bit of NVIDIA. We'll see what happens with Apple and that Chewy 50. Don't want to forget about that Chewy 50. But there's another one here on the list. Brendan, I think you're going to get to Piton and the commercial they had.
Yeah, that was fun, wasn't it? We can talk about Peloton, guys. For those joining us a little bit late this morning, join us at 8:30. We talk about everything. Rivian, Harley, Lucid, all on the list, all with kind of separate catalysts this morning. So we did go over Rivian, Harley, and Lucid. Harley, an interesting look here in the pre-market after that EV announcement this morning. Peloton, though, yeah. Chris Noth promoting the Peloton in the Sex and the City spinoff in their own commercials, saying he's still alive. Yay, I guess.
Yeah, look, I didn't see the dig that they got on Sex and whatever, man. I didn't even notice until I read the story. that this is the reason for a 2% up move, because they made a response ad to an ad that I don't know how many people actually paid attention to in the first place. Maybe more than I think. That's certainly possible. But Peloton was under pressure for a heck of a lot more reasons than a silly Sex in the City mention. But there was the monster drop on Friday, and we did have this. Look at that wick. This is that classic 930 pop and fade style trade that I know we're both looking at to the short side, Arun. And then you're going to gap right back to this price, and you're going to tell me we're sitting here at the same price that we were in the pre-market, with a little bit more of a barcode, then a dip and a drop right into 39. This is exactly what happened. It dropped into 39, and then it spiked up, took 40, tried to get through 41, and failed. So look, we've seen this happen before. We're going to the well the second time, you can get run over. But it's hard for me to look at this and say, okay, well, if it tests through 41, I'm going to short 41 and just see if the same thing can happen again. I mean, it's just, if it works, it works. Obviously, you have some support. That 38 level down here, I think that could be pretty interesting. That level happens to hold again. I think you could have a little bit of a dip buy. But I'm going to go right back to the well with Peloton and say this is not a gigantic deal. If we can take the same kind of pop and fade trade that we had on Friday, I'll go for that on Peloton and try to keep it relatively simple. You give it like a few points through that 41, because the base of that support before was 41.25 to 41.50. So you have to see it trade through 41 before you put that short on. But Peloton, yeah, I mean, I'm looking for that same trade that we made on Friday. I think it was actually even the trade of the day.
Yeah, exact same read here. But I'm going to be slightly hesitant, though. 43 is still going to be the stop. 41 is still going to be the price point, which I used 40 the last time we were up here. I'm still okay with it, but I prefer a higher price, north of 41. And I'm going to kind of wait to see how it trades there. I'm not going to rush into the entry, but if it does set up north of 40, 41 preferably, 43 stop on there. So Peloton short side, same trade as Friday, same read as Friday, maybe not the same trade, but same read as Friday with the 43 stop potential shorts. What happens if it breaks the low? 37.5 break, that would be nicer, I think. Taking the low out would open up a much better trade to the downside. I'm noticing futures coming off here a little bit. Yeah. Just want to see imbalances. No, we're still waiting on imbalances, I guess. No, NASDAQ should be out. Yeah, NAKD seems to have popped in on the sell side in NASDAQ. Buy side, 390.
That's tiny, though.
392 for naked?
They're like penny stocks.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So that's your largest NASDAQ imbalance right now, Brandon.
All right, a few little ones. Bottom end of the list this morning, the guys were talking about Bellis Health a lot, so I'll mention this one. AVCT, very active here once again in the pre-market. Lots of volume just coming into the sell side there. After what happened back on Friday, you remember we got all the way up to 3. It kind of eventually fails at 3 and gives you that rollover, but you had to be really patient with it. So a lot more weak to start off the new week. 250 and then 3 above that for this AVCT. Has to get through this low, though, from Friday if it's going to continue, guys.
I see what you did there. A couple of things, though. People chanting at the John Smith asking about ARNA. Cash deal at $100. I know it's moving around a little bit, but a lot of times cash deals are not going to be overly tradable. It's showing a ton of weakness here. It's got some, being as big a deal as it is, it's obviously going to have some, not restrictions, but some trouble getting through regulatory issues. Possibly 3 quarters it'll take to close. If it got to 90, I think it'd be an interesting level to see if there's a bit of a dip buy. But we did cover that one a little bit. NVIDIA already bounced here, as you guys are noting. So I was sitting in front of that 300 level. It did just bounce off 302. I'm not really changing anything here. The NASDAQ's starting to fall off. So I still think there's a chance the dip buy could come in to NVIDIA. Not too much of a reason to get away from it. PTPI from last week. This is also gapping to the upside. Just quickly had written down a 330 to 345 area. So it popped up, failed at 360, and then lower consolidation was between 330 and 345. And this, if you look at this one on the daily chart anyways, it does have some room. If it were to get past 350 again, it's got some room to a $4 level up at the top. So let's see if we can't get this one on a pop and fade trade. But Peloton, definitely on the radar for that. Lucid, I'm on the bid. Ford, looking for a bit of a dip buy. With 2 minutes to go to the open, I managed to spend the entire time without having to think or talk about Tom Brady, who ruined things for me on the weekend.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I don't know. A couple people mentioned in the chat. I'm surviving. The Bills suck. It is what it is. And the other one that we want to get to here, Harley Davidson, of course, with the spin-off of their load. Spin-off electric bike unit there. SPAC-wise, back up to the high of the day. So Harley on the move to the upside here. It actually just tested the top. I was looking to see if it retook 40 to the downside to be a bit of a fade, but it's showing signs of strength. So I don't know that I have a trade on for Harley Davidson anymore. I was kind of looking to see it below that 41 and then testing 40. Looks like it's actually setting up for a breakout that I don't want to necessarily be involved with.
All right, futures, let's talk about it because it is falling off fast here on the futures side. We were sitting, around 12 or so when I was talking, and here we are at 4,700 even. This is where we kind of get into decision-making mode, right? 4670 is there, below 4,700 kind of sets something up. We just need to see how it trades. Remember, I'm trying to get along at least 4695 or better to the downside. So there's a potential for a long, but you have to respect the fact that the market is on the sell side. So wait for a move to the downside, as I say with 3 longs. I'll wait for a move to the downside here, see if we can catch a bid off of any of these levels. Wait for it to slow down. It needs to slow down because if this accelerates, this could set up a nice little trap to the downside. So just be aware that we need to get it to slow down before going for a long. At the time though, I mean, it's sitting at 4,700 as the market goes to open. It's gonna bring in a lot of volume right around this price point. So just keep an eye on it. I'll let you guys know when I get a trade on this, on the futures here.
Yeah, we're just going to drop the countdown. It's Monday morning. Miss V's on the bell. She's ready and locked and loaded to go. She's excited. We're excited for you. Bit of a Fed week as well. 3, 2, and 1. Let's get some dips. Forgot to mention Apple also looking to buy a dip in front of Friday's close as well. But Lucid is one that is on that watch, of course, starting to make a bit of a drag to the downside here. I like a 38.30 area on a dip. I think you were looking more like the 39. It could be a distinction without a difference. We'll have to see. That BLU starting to come back off here. My stop back at 750. Pfizer upside.
Pfizer's gone. Now, wow, okay. I was not expecting this, but yeah, I got filled just in time.
Wow.
Right there. 53.13 on the fill. They bounced off of 53.10, I think. And it is north of 53. Oh, it was just north of 54. So yes, it's a nice dollar winner on Pfizer. Timing great, price great. Did I miss the initial entry? Yeah, but I still got it on the second time around. So Pfizer taking off to the upside. There it goes. Home Depot has closed the spread, so now I'm just out 3 cents in the money. And I'm seeing these weird one-share fills go off at
those dark pools, man.
Yeah, but why is it happening after the market opens? It's a closing price from Friday, but it's so weird to see it go off. And Blue, we just got stopped out of, making it like 5 or 6 cents on the remaining half. I'm done with Blue. We're going to move on. I've got Pfizer long, Lucid long. And I got the Lucid long too. Yeah, nice.
So Pfizer goes to the upside immediately. Nvidia drops to 257 and then comes right back into the upside at 260, 262, 263. Bit of a spread here, but I want to quickly show you. So it looks like that fade trade. I mean, I didn't put it. I wasn't on the radar for this, but if it's gonna pop, if it's gonna fail and then pop right back into pre-market highs when Pfizer's on the upside, I'm gonna go for it and take this one. I got that Nvidia in front of that 298.50, but that could get taken out pretty quickly. I'm still in my blue trade, and I just got PTPI, another one on our list here, but I want to see if I can get Moderna. That was a big-time flush when Pfizer went to the upside. If I can catch a fade off the pre-market high, which is sitting right at 264, I'm going to go ahead and take that.
Yeah, I just dumped some Pfizer just around that 54 mark, so we're going to walk away with about 86 cents or so on the first half of the position. We've got Lucid, but Lucid coming back in now after having popped all the way to 4. Is it coming back in? What is the actual price? Because this chart is acting a fool. Lucid.
39. No, sorry, no. It did break
39.18. Okay, so it did come back. Okay, this chart's all over the place because there's, I guess, dark print's going off at 40. That was making me think that it was trading at 40. So we've dumped some Pfizer. Home Depot is 31 cents out. I imagine I'm losing on the spread on Home Depot as well. Yeah. It's 415.23 by 415.99. So we're kind of waiting for this trade, but the trade on Home Depot is ready to go. So I can be confident in the setup. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I'm okay with the weights moving around. Pfizer is now 88 cents in the money, Lucid 7 cents in the money. Those trades are going to work. I got to find some new trades. These trades are fine. Everything I've got, I can let work. Futures gone to the downside. Okay, 94 and change.
Yeah, I actually just got Ford in here on the dip here in front of 21. I'm going to see if I can't get some more shares. It actually went to that 2085 level. 2093 in front of that 2085 level. That was the previous high that we'd like for a bit of a support. It looked like Nvidia was a bit of a bad trigger because I was looking at that 298 level. Come on, load. That 298 level, if we'll load here. And it stopped out and then didn't actually take out 298. So, I mean, I just jumped back into the trade. We'll pay the spread, but I'm trying to hold it in front of that 298. So I'm back in. But remember, I did take a hit on that because I had a stop out that I probably didn't want. Lucid's very close to my entry point, that 38.30. So first entry on Lucid just came in for me. Brendo?
Coke, guys, we saw on the upgrade side of the board this morning. Nice move here, 2.3%, 57 straight through to 57.5. A couple days in a row now, we're through some significant levels for Coke.
Okay.
You say Coke?
KO, I think. Let's take a quick look at KO because I do need some more trades here. 56.14 low, 57.60 high. Why is this KO not? Okay, here we go. 2.24% up, $1.26 on the day. Okay, I can. Oh wow, damn, 57 take would have been nice. Okay, that trade is kind of closed actually. You kind of can't do anything with that one now.
Yeah.
Another trade I'm looking at though, Upstart. UPST below 159 is what I was looking at. There goes Pfizer, still going strong, $1.20 in the money on the rest of the position now. Upstart, this is a nice little move to the downside that I was actually looking potentially for the short. I actually want to see how it trades, but that 159 break to the downside would have taken that 160 and any support we had for the last latter half of Friday session and this morning. So if we can stay below 159-ish, I'm okay with the short idea. I just got to figure out the stop. I think it's 162. I'm not sure yet, but I am looking at Upstart on the short side as well. It's down 3.5%, well, 3.2% on the day.
Yeah, quick one here on Lucid. It just bounced off of 38.50. I like 38.30. Was a bit of a difference for me. I was going to ring Reggie a little bit here in front of 39. If it comes in barcodes down at the bottom, I'll try a reload around 38.50, but I'm looking 40 for the second target to the upside. NVIDIA could stop out again, looking incredibly weak. And I do see you guys, SGMA. The market's starting to fall off pretty hard here. All I have is PTPI to the south side. SGMA for me, it's not that interesting till it gets below 14.50, but you're seeing a heck of a lot of weakness now overall, and I'm starting to think about getting back into the short side on some bigger names and taking actually some profit as Ford starts to get upside here. I mean, with the market as weak as it is, it's not getting to these 21.25 levels. Those are all dark pool prints. It is holding below 21.15, so I might actually lighten the load on Ford a little bit, just start taking like 10, 15 cents as weak as the market is, just so that we're banking some profit on this name, catching some bounces. Ford working in the money. I just banked some of Lucid for the long trade. NVIDIA didn't end up stopping out the second time. Now, of course, you know, that was pie in my face with a misplaced stop order, but I did get back in. I'm looking back towards the previous pre-market low, 302. That'll be the first exit price. You know, hopefully we can get there, but this market gonna have to bounce here a little bit, Brendo, as it's looking weak to start this Monday morning.
Yeah, a little bit to the downside here. Sigma, big mover from last week, if you remember, Friday. SGMA had a huge move from 8 all the way up to 18, just popping up on volume here. Broke that pre-market low. It looks like some sell volume for SGMA.
All right, one stock that I am looking at, well, I've got Upstart. I was looking for Upstart, like I mentioned to you guys on the short side. Microsoft. Number 1 or number 2, depending on the day, in terms of weight in these indexes, behind Apple and Microsoft kind of go back and forth on who's the larger weight. Microsoft, after flushing through 342, now wants to look at 344 to the upside. I mean, well, not looking, but I'd like to see 344 go on the upside, because that'd be a nice little break to the upside. I got Upstart, by the way. Nice. So now we got Pfizer, Lucid, Home Depot long, Upstart short. And 344 long on Microsoft would be nice. And I just saw that Hog, the name that we were talking about earlier, took off. Why did the alert go off? 43. 43 break? Yeah, above 42.50, north of 43. That's why it went off. Keep an eye. I need to keep an eye on this as well, because it's not going to be a straight up break given the amount of interest you're getting. But I am very curious to see how we trade north of 42.50, because if we get that opportunity to actually go for the long on some sort of stability north of there, then you can play off of this previous resistance as new support and look for that long on Hog there.
A couple of things. We'll power up for NVIDIA getting towards that 301, 302 target, so I was able to get some shares out here. A lot of dark pool wicks still going off at the top, so be careful if you have stop orders that get triggered by those. You want to trade with at least a little bit of caution. So grabbing that long on NVIDIA looking pretty good. And then I did take some profit on Ford there because it's, again, just holding, barcoding around this 2105. So I'll take more out in front of 2120 and then 2125 and then see how far it wants to go. Again, this market's still looking relatively weak. Brendo, what's up, bud?
Nice start for some of the chip makers. Here's Qualcomm, guys. All-time highs for QCOM this morning, up 4% through 190 there. A big volume alert for QCOM.
I don't want to ignore blue here. I'm actually still in it, but it's starting to get pretty tight. Like it did that fade off of 820 earlier on when we were trading this in the pre-market. I know both Arun and I were taking profit. I didn't take anything out when it got to that 25 mark, which I should have. So I'm still in, a good 20% of my trade. If it gets below 750, which look at that, 750 has held all morning so far. If that breaks, I mean, it's an obvious out for me. It might turn into a reversal short, which is not something I was going to do. If it fails at the high again at 835, that's another way to look for a reversal to the short side. As blue right now, I mean, I'm definitely going to take profit in front of 825 if it goes there again. There's no way I'm looking at gift horse amount. That would just be reckless. Lucid starting to pull back in a little bit. It just got to 39.5. I was able to quickly scalp 40 cents, but can't get through VWAP. Market crashing here. This does not feel like a reload situation unless I see it bounce and hold that low at 38.30. And where do I get 38.30 from? Just to quickly show you guys, that was Friday's top. 38.30, fail break at the open through that price, afternoon high at 38.30. So that's where I like to dip buy on Lucid. For now, it's holding, but with the market doing what it's doing, I'm not sure it's going to be able to resist this for long. If we crack 16.2 on the NASDAQ, I mean, I can't really see some of these stocks holding up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the one name. It's actually part of the S&P 500, Home Depot. My long is getting, it was slightly in the money for a bit at 416, and then it's losing any sort of support that I had. So this might be leaking to the downside of the Home Depot long. Upstart short, I expected to get run over a little bit on the initial fill, so it's at $1 as well. Pfizer, $1.27 in the money, so we're going to protect. It's at 54.50 right now, 54.46, I guess. So that's $1.31 in the money at the moment. I got to protect that. Lucid is flirting with the entry point, so I'm long at 03. It's below 39 even. We're going to wait on that. But NVIDIA, Neil, we talked about NVIDIA at 298. It did put in a low just below 298, but it is bouncing back now. So it is finding some strength with this market, even though the market is now at 90 and change. This is somewhat, we kind of expected this, right? Like there's support here, but the momentum is to the sell side, so you want it to slow down a little bit. If it stabilizes somewhere south of 46.95, there could be a trade still on the table for the long on the futures. As I talk about this, FB just went off here. Why FB? Meta Platforms. Oh, there goes Meta Platforms taking out 336. Oh, why do I do that? I say Meta Platforms, and I should just keep saying Facebook.
It's a lot easier to keep.
Yeah, 336 now. That's a multi-day high here, taking out 336. Wow, it's up $6 off the open. Damn. Okay, there's a trade there, definitely. I'm just going to wait for it to settle, but keep an eye on that as well as we wait for the rest of the trades to kind of just get a feel for it. The market's trying to find some stability. There is an area to work with for the market, so we can definitely find find some stability around here somewhere.
Come on,
it's a matter of waiting, but Meta's going nuts. It's at 337. When it changed to it, it was at 336, and now it's at 337, and still going up $6 or $7 now off the open there.
Just a couple of things. Blue here does stop me out at 750, so pulls all the way back in, sharp volume spike. It's going to set up. If it comes to the top high again, I'll fade off the high. Lucid now $1 in the money. I'm still trying to get some shares out in front of the last of these shares out in front of 40. You look at this 40 level here, it just rolled off a cliff. It's an even dollar level. I think it could set up for a bit of a breakout anyways at that price. So if I can get the last of it out, closer to that price, I think we'll just walk away and be pretty happy with it. It looks like Nvidia is back above 300. So a bit of a bungle initially, allowing it to test that 300 or 298 level and then have a bad trigger. And then we got the long, we're able to scalp some of it out. And now just looking to see if we can't hold on for a bigger move. If this ends up being the low, we've held that support, I think we have a chance to get up to that 304, 305. It's just the market is looking relatively weak, and that's why you want to bank that profit. That's why I'm now out of Lucid and just taking the money and running on this one. It's just, I don't know, there's something about wanting to hold that long. I like NVIDIA still have it. I like Ford still have it. But digging in and holding all of the longs on the dip buy when the market's still relatively weak, that doesn't feel like the way to go. And Lucid, the one that I feel like has the most risk if it were to pull back in. So you're going to see me bank it. NVIDIA 4, we're going to hold on to. Apple, in the midst of that pullback, by the way, we're right at 180. And I'm sitting south of 180, and I don't know why I wouldn't just step in front of the 180 level. I know I like that 179.45 close, so I was trying to get it closer to that price, but Apple is just for now. It just finally, as I'm talking about it, it just broke down. So maybe I'm going to get picked up on this bid, but I don't want to sit Apple out too long. That was the best. Well, it wasn't the best dip buy. Microsoft probably would have been, but Apple was my best dip buy on Friday. I should probably at least start a baby position here in front of 180 or at 180, and then work into it more if it dips further. Miss V?
Hey Neil, BBIG is up around 6%. Could you guys take a look at BBIG for us?
BBIG. Neil, this is more
Vinco Ventures, yeah. I mean, I know Vinco's done a few million shares worth of volume. It's not a gigantic mover. I feel like I did see this initially when it popped up through like $3 and was saying to myself, yeah, okay, that's right. It's still got that resistance up at 330. So if it doesn't, if something like this, right? It's a good break, and if you got it, take your profit if you can, because there's an obvious level at 330 from last week, or maybe it was the week before that. It was last week, this 330 level where it just absolutely failed and lower highs all the way through. And I think it's probably still got some resistance to Vinco at that particular price. If you got this breakout, it wasn't on my radar to take it. You're getting close enough. You get 5 to 7%. I mean, that's bankable in my opinion, but if you don't like it, you don't like it. I just think 330 is a more interesting level. I don't love these things when they're still trading in the same range. When it's breaking out of this range down here, maybe even like 345, 350, that's when it starts to get really exciting for me. For now, we're just going to ride. Ooh, Apple. Yeah, like I said, Apple starting to work in the money. And one other that was looking really good, Ford. Yeah, I was able to get that, some shares out in front of 21.25. Now we're headed back down towards that 21 level. It is a 20.85 that I particularly like for support, so I'll let it travel to that price. But time for a reload in Ford, as it's right back at that 21, which is a key price for me. So I'll take some more shares here if I can in front of 21, and then in front of 20.85, I should be saying, because that's definitely that previous high that we like to dip buy on Ford.
And Upstart, I ended up getting run over on Upstart. It just kept going up. Upstart's still going up, so we will walk away from that short. I moved the stop on Pfizer to just below 53.50, so that way we're locking in some profit on the remaining half. And Lucid, I've got the target. I know Neil's out, but I've got the Lucid target. Facebook is still going, 340 now, 339.60. Lucid upside target is north of 42 even. So we're sitting around the 42.50 mark. So we're going to wait for that one to play out. And Home Depot is just absolutely leaking, but it's at support, so we got to leave it alone. Zscaler, a name that Brennan brought to us earlier. I was looking at that 320 Zscaler taking off to the upside now, north of 320. Given how thin it is, it's only done 300,000 shares. I want to wait a little bit before I get involved, but I think there could be a trade here on Zscaler as well, north of 320. I'll just wait a little bit though. Got to be a little more patient with these kind of names. What do we have? We got $1 winner on Pfizer on the remaining half. Lucid up 80 cents, and then Home Depot 250 down, sitting at 413. Remember, the stop on Home Depot is just south of 412, by the way. I've got some more trades to work with. Nvidia, we were looking at that 298. That's kind of bounced off a little bit. Chewy, above that 54 marker.
Did it break?
To the upside, yeah.
Okay.
So Chewy now to the upside, north of 54. Again, like I said before, I got to be a little bit more hesitant with this 54 break. Obviously, the 50 trade is easier, but 54, there could still be a trade there. I just want to be smart about when I get in, because I want to see whether they can handle or absorb some selling here south of 54. So here we are trading 54. Come back underneath. Show me what you got below 54. And then we'll talk about a potential long on Chewy there. But there is a trade there as well potentially. CRM I have that came off on the radar. Why? Oh, CRM is doing a multi-day break here. CRM to the upside is New York? Yeah, it is. Okay, CRM north of 270. As we get more and more data loaded, here we go. Multi-day here, north of 270. We've been above 270 before, so I am clearly waiting for this market to kind of trade itself out before I step into a long. Futures-wise, we're not bouncing. There's not much of a bounce here off these 87s. We're trading at 88 and change, so I am going to be a little bit more patient with CRM. A lot of these trades that I'm not in already, I'm going to be a little bit more patient. I'm going to wait it out. I know Hog took off to the upside, though.
You know what also I'm thinking about here? Because as the futures, and you just talked about it there, which is why I'm probably not going to have to show you guys. Futures started to turn a little bit and heading back southbound. I just took some profit on Apple there at 180.50. Wanted to ring the register on some of those longs because the reversal's coming back in. It just looks weak, so we're banking profit all the way through. Lucid, it feels like it was a good call. to get out in front of that 40 level. Still on the New York, Neil. Still on the NASDAQ the last time I checked, Neil. But Lucid, 40 levels, still resistance is trying to break it right now. So if it gets through, it looks like there was a wick at about 40.03. So, you might be looking at more like a 40.05 or a 40.10 break if you're looking for that level. Or if you're looking to short it, you might actually give it like 10, 15 extra cents or so. But banking some profit here made some sense, catching that falling sword. And Ford starting to fall, continuing to fall just a little bit. NVIDIA was deep. It was deep in the money up there, right around that 303 level, and then it just pulled right back into VWAP. So if it holds 300, it's going to look pretty solid here. And I see you guys talking about NES over here on formerly the Amex. It's an all-stock buyout that just halted to the upside, reopened. The volume's now churning through the roof. I'd have to read up on exactly what the details are there, but watch out. It is an all-stock deal, so there's going to be a parent company that you're going to have to watch. So be very, very careful trading that one. And Hog, wow, that's an unbelievable run there. It never tested down. I didn't participate in the long side of the trade, and I kind of feel like I should have. I didn't really set up for that short because that 41, like I said, it needed to break 41, and I thought it was a short below that price. I suppose the reversal would have been, if you like it for a short breakdown, then why don't you think it's support, Neil? Because it actually held that like gangbusters. Let's see if it can bounce off that price again, because I still think that's that key price on Harley-Davidson, 41 even. That blue, yeah, it looks like I got burned. We both got triggered out of this one and this is what happens when you put trails in. I gave it to 750. I could have given it back to this low at 720, and now it's just ripping to the upside. So we're both sitting in that one pre-market, liking the momentum.
There goes Lucid.
I'm looking at $9 here, just as an even level. See if it has a bit of a fade at that price that I can maybe scalp off of. Lucid has now broken that 40.
Yeah, Lucid taking off to the upside, north of 40. Our target is still like $2 away, so we're going to leave that alone. Facebook, I'm looking for potential longs. I know Hog was taking off. Before I get to Hog, though, the thing with blue, right? I mean, you do your best to potentially manage, you do your best to manage your position, make as much money as possible. Obviously, when the market or the stock gets you out and then it keeps going, I mean, that's part of the business. That you just gotta kind of absorb it, move on, find another trade. The trade that I found, Pfizer, still going to the upside here. I got some out at 54 and change. Here we are, $1.40 in the money as Home Depot, Pfizer covering some of my loss on Home Depot. Stupid Home Depot is still going to the downside. So I got burned on upstart on Home Depot, but we've got Pfizer, we've got Lucid. I'm still looking for Hog. I'm keeping an eye on Chewy as well, north of 54. So potential trades coming in on other stocks here to cover some of my hits from other names. What is futures doing? Still going. Here we are, 85 and change. So futures to the downside, we're down 0.39 on the S&P 500, 0.25 on the NASDAQ. We're still at support. So all the way down to 70 even, there's support. What am I seeing? Where would I go long? I don't know. Maybe if we got back north of 4,700, then I might put a bid down at 46.95. I don't know. There's downside momentum is in play on the future, so longs probably aren't the best, but the fact that I've got two longs that are still working helps my case. Just as I say that, the Lucid absolutely losing that 40 level. So
you know what's crazy to me, Arun, is it's like on Friday, it was like Apple and the big names holding up for the long as the market came down. It just feels the same way today. I just got another thing that makes me feel like it's Friday. Peloton just popped up. So I just got 58. It's probably a little shallow in front of that 41. This is that target area that we talked about, like when it pushed up on Friday. That was right at 9:30. It's taking a little bit more time than that. So I'm right in that range to give it to like 41, 41.25 or so for the rest of that entry point. I can tell you that we'll do this for Ford as the market continues to come back in. It just felt like you had to be taking some profit on the dip buys to the long side, even if they were working, right? It's like probably a little more aggressive getting Ford out for like 20 to 25 pennies when we had a chance, because defending that bottom, that previous high, I'm now out of the stock, forget about it, take your profit and run in this particular case. Apple, no problem holding on to, at least for now. Nvidia is also trying to hold up, but starting to get pretty weak on some of these names here, getting into that Peloton short and wanting to hold it. I wish Chewy would set up, but for now we'll have to deal with Peloton. And Lucid, after taking it out at 40 even, the way that it retraced that 40 level here, that just feels like it could be a short off of that same price. If it comes back and maybe can hold a barcode at like 39.60 to 39.80, might try to get a short entry there. I'm looking for something to be short in other than just Peloton here.
Yeah, NVIDIA is coming back in. So as the market comes back in, you're seeing a lot of these stronger names come back. That means I need to make some adjustments to my positions. Lucid, I'm losing the market. So that means I was expecting some form of support. It looks like downside momentum is strong. So we're going to walk away from Lucid, actually. Take the 20 cents. If it keeps going up, fine. But I don't need to sit here and hope that it keeps going up when I have cash in front of me. So we're going to walk. Why didn't I get all of it out? I got half of it out. Okay, let me get the rest of it out soon. And we're gonna, there we go. We dumped Lucid there. Pfizer still going strong, so I can leave that alone. Any weak names I'm gonna walk away from. I'm looking for potentially maybe sell side or failed moves preferably.
Yep.
So which is a failed move that could potentially be on the table? Hog. After taking 43, the support level is 42.50. Now we are underneath 42.50. So if we can get some more sell side volume, let's just start working maybe potential shorts here on Hog. We've dumped Lucid. I guess good timing because now Lucid's at 39 and change. So we walked away with about, what was my entry? It was probably like 10, 15 cents. I don't even know what the entry on Lucid was. It was 13, no, it was 03. So okay, so I made like 20, 25 cents. So we're gonna walk away from Lucid, Facebook coming back in, Pfizer still going strong, Microsoft. So the big tech names, Apple, remember we were talking about Apple being strong, right? What's Apple doing? 180, okay, what's a break on Apple? 179. So I'm still open to the idea of shorting Apple. We were looking at 179 to the downside. So south of 179, I think we got a short and play on Apple. Futures still heading to the downside, so maybe some shorts. I would like some shorts.
Peloton.
Oh, there you go.
I keep telling you, man, it's like sometimes you just stick to what works, and like it was the exact same setup. Like Peloton does the same thing again. We're laughing. I'm looking for $1 profit on the first leg, and then look about taking out that low of the day. But NU, new bank, starting to flush here. Like we still like that breakout if it could have gotten there, but the market pulling back in is going to say kaputs to that. So I'm looking right now. If it takes out 10.75, you know $10 should have some support. It broke there. Right away at the open on Friday, it broke that $10 level. I think it could be support if it gets back down there, but now back on the radar is NU at 10. I didn't see that one coming in so quickly. Blue has now turned around a little bit off of this $9 level, so it churned through. It got to 920. 921, couldn't break through the quarter mark load, couldn't break through that quarter mark and starting to fade back in. So a bit of a battle being waged here on blue up at the top. If it fails this, it's pretty simple. I think I'd like, just in front of that or just beneath that $9 level for a short on the way down. You give it to that high of the day. After that, it's only the $10 level I'd look at. And like I said, Peloton, I actually wanted to break even lower. I might consider, as the market's kind of holding a little bit, I might consider taking some out in front of 40 even, nice, just to see if I can't get a reload. We got 40 60s here, so a pretty decent price, but I should be banking at least a little bit and then reloading any price I can get between 50 to 85. Brendo?
Another one from last week, guys. BFRI just popping back up on volume here. We came into 6 and held nicely there, so it is starting to move back to the upside. Biofrontera, little low float name again from last week, guys, moving around.
Oh, I remember you, and I like BFRI. We're going to be all over that one probably. If you look at what happened at that 660 level here, now that you've broken back out, go back to your daily chart. Have a quick look here at this top, 735, and then obviously $10. Not a heck of a lot in between. If it makes a fresh high, I'd be very careful with a $7 break, if only because it's going to run into that 730 level that I think could be a bit of a big one. And then obviously, I just finished saying that I should take some profit out on Peloton in front of 40. And then it bounces like pennies away from my order, and then we're right back up into that midpoint, that 40.50 to 41 target area that we like. Miss V?
Hey Neil, it's like o'clock everyone. Guys, we have more than 6,000 people watching and not even 1,000 likes. It's almost 10 a.m. So please make sure you like this video. I know you're busy trading, but we would really appreciate if you find a second to hit thumbs to the upside. Back to you, Neil.
Yes, sir. Why not? We're trying to cover as much as we can for you. The futures on the rune side, the double bottom on NVIDIA here, Peloton going nuts. Look, NVIDIA and Apple, I'm going to stay strong too, but I see you guys talk once again. AMC just under so much pressure. Sometimes we should just keep it simple. 9:30 pop and fade on AMC, and now it's going to get woodshedded over and over and over again. Another fresh low here. Look, this is not an all-time low. So when I say a fresh low, I'm talking a recent, like the last parabolic move that it made. It had support at 28. That got broken last week, and then you had support at 25. That has been broken here this morning. Fresh low at 24.37. It just feels like maybe this should be a short at every single pop, but I'd probably be looking at this 26. When it fell off a cliff here, again down to 24, I think 26 is your resistance point. In terms of any long trades, right now Apple holding up pretty nicely at that 180 level. I didn't get a reload off of 180. Looks like it got down to 180.25. I might start getting a bit more aggressive with the dip buys in between there, but 181, it can't even go more than $1. So the overall weakness in the market is still there. Even Apple not looking too strong. Microsoft on the other. Microsoft, if you're tracking this one as well, which was a little bit stronger on Friday than Apple. Kind of the same thing happening here. Like it's found its low at 340, although it's trying to break back out this 342, that pre-market low price. So I'm going to be watching both these. Big tech trying to hold this market up, about to get a reload back into some Peloton in front of 41. For me, that Lucid never really came in for that reload to the short. It looks like it got to 39.50, not quite back to that 40. And then Bobby Wingwood, BFRI, yeah, it's a big time small float. I just think it runs into some issues if it breaks that high at about 7:30, as there might be some people that are sort of trapped at some of these levels before that are looking to sell when they would have bought late last month. So there's some bag holders that could be taking some profit if it were to get to 7:30 there, Bobby. Already 10 o'clock. Let's send you guys to Brett and see what's happening now.
Hey guys, yeah, back in negative territory here for North American markets. Here we go. Look at where we're at. S&P 0.4 to the downside, the Dow leading 0.7 to the downside. It was tech stocks down here that was leading in the pre-market, but the Russell also had a bit of a reversal there. We did try to go higher initially on some of the small caps, but back in the red. Same story for the NASDAQ, the composite, and the 100. Back to the downside, 0.25% for the TSX here in Toronto as well. In negative territory. Here's a few things we were talking about if you joined us pre-market. Harley Davidson still trying to hold up here. Just made a new high. Kind of failed, though, through 43. So heads up at 43 for HOG. Still a huge 15% move. Rivian as well with positive news this morning. Nice trade through that pre-market high. 118 up to 122 for Rivian, guys.
Yeah, going back to Harley Davidson, at this point, I was for a second there, I was like, maybe there's a long there. At this point, you gotta just keep an eye on the potential trap trade here north of 42.50. Maybe the fact that we failed north of 43 all the way up to 44, there was enough buying here on an extension. Obviously, now that's getting sold off here. So if we get below 40, I think you've got to consider the idea that this trade might be done. So 40 is the cutoff point for me. You break 40, I'll go short. I'll put the stop wherever it needs to be, and then we'll go on the short side. Until we get to that point, though, I'm not sure I want to step in either side. I thought for a second there might be a long, but I'm not sure I want to do this with the futures doing what they're doing. Now, they're still in support, and they can still catch a bid. But at the same time, for me to consider going long on the futures, this thing has to go at least another 20 points to the upside. By then, I'm sure a lot of stocks would have moved in many different ways. So we're going to wait a little bit. No trade on the futures. Lucid we dumped, obviously. Facebook is still going. Facebook, the strongest name, or Meta, the strongest out of the bunch here. Apple's a little slow. Microsoft was decent, but Facebook absolutely taking flight, I guess would be the word. Whatever. 330 all the way up to 339. I guess 340 is on deck for anyone who wants to momentum trade this. 340 there. And Piton, what is Piton doing? I don't get it. You find selling and then it's going straight up. Now I am short. I don't have the great price that you do. You've got 60 something. I've got 20s. I base it entirely on volume and it's still going to the upside. Well, our stop is still 43. Our risk is still $2, almost $3, I guess. And our downside target is still down fairly low. So we can make the risk back if this trade actually spins around. We've got a decent amount of resistance to work with. It's just a matter of can Piton actually get past this whole commercial business.
Yeah, I mean,
what I mean commercial business is just like the Sex and City commercial that apparently this move is based on. But once we get past that, can we get back down to the downside? Because I would love to see 38 on the downside on Piton.
Yeah, exactly. And look, I've reloaded NVIDIA again down around that Current low of the day looks like 297. I don't know if it breaks the low again. You're gonna have to give that trade up. I'll talk Moderna here. I talked myself out of and I gave you the reasons why in the pre-market that I didn't like the breakout trade. And we'd sit on the periphery, and then the second it made a move down, I'm like, okay, well, I'll try a short off of that level. And it's like in and out, nice tight entry and exit, so that we don't actually have a big hit on the Moderna. And then, like I sort of mentioned, I'm sort of sitting it out until it gets to that fail price from Friday. It was about 280 where it did a failed breakout. You had the top here at 288. So like 286 to 288, I think, is your target area for that downside. I still have not taken any of the Peloton out, and I just tweeted out that is just, I mean, I don't have much of an excuse for being, like, I don't have this lucid short. I don't really know why I don't have it. I just no excuse whatsoever. It was an easy out on the dip buy, because dip buy off the previous day, Friday's resistance level, and then taking it out in front of that 40 even. It does a failed break at 40, and I don't even get into the short, so not much of an excuse there. It has to get closer to that price for me to maybe jump back into it. That blue we got stopped out of, trailed out of, I should say, because, you know, obviously it was deep in the money, then we trailed out of it. Now it's still barcoding at the top, so you're not going to see me enter this unless it breaks down below about 885. I think it can be a short down there, and yeah, if it wants to take out the high again, it's definitely consolidating up here long enough for potential breakout. But I'm sticking with Apple long. I just reloaded NVIDIA long, Peloton short. Moderna would have to go another $10, well, maybe like $5 to $10 for me to think about that short trade. It's off like gangbusters, and you know I usually like fading that name. That's just what's worked in the past for me. Blue, if it breaks 1885 to the downside, this cluster, I'm going short on that break.
Yeah, I just heard you talk about it. I'm like, what? Did you actually say 9?
I know.
I was like,
yeah,
what? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, we got out. It is what it is. You can't, I guess you can't cry over spilled milk. I guess that's the saying. So we'll find new trades. New trade that I'm looking at right now, NVIDIA to the downside. It actually is hitting day lows here, just south of 298. We bounced here a couple times. I want to wait for a little bit more, but there could be a nice little trade on NVIDIA. Pfizer still going, almost $2 in the money on Pfizer, 53.13 long. Here we are north of 55 on Pfizer. It's just management at this point, right? You just manage the trade and see how much of it of this you can protect, because there's no targets. I've got my first target out at 54, and now here we are another $1 from there, and we're just going to manage it out, see how far we can go. Current stop is south of 54, a little bit more trading done, and I'll move the stop again. But for now, we are locked in and doing well on Pfizer, and Pete's on kind of flirting with that 50, 40 half area. So, I mean, it's doing its thing. I just got to keep an eye on NVIDIA. Justin, the marketing guy, just pointed out in our internal chat, for anyone who cares, it's Taylor Swift's birthday. He's a huge Swiftie fan, so he just put it out there for Valeria. I just threw that up there. For anyone who cares, I don't. So I'm just going to keep on trading.
You care about as that's a mean thing to say. You care about as much as I do, though. I'm going to go back to NVIDIA for a quick second here, because if you look at the wipeout that it had, Monday was obviously a bad day at the morning for stocks, and then you had huge V-shaped bounces across the board. Everything did this, by the way. It's not just NVIDIA. But right up at the end of the day at 3 o'clock, you had this 297 support come into the bottom, and it looks like that's the support that we're resting on. So when it tried to take that bottom out, got stopped out, it then retook the bid. We got back into the trade to the long side when it reclaimed that bid, and then we were able to get some out in front of 302. I've dip bought again in front of this new support at 297. If that breaks, you're looking at a triple bottom here with that last level of support. If it breaks to the downside, there's a heck of a lot of room lower. So I don't really blame Arun for looking for a long. Blue looks like it could do the other thing at this particular time. The other thing, I mean, not breaking 885 to the downside, but continue to try to press towards that breakout at 930. 931 is technically the high. So if it breaks the bottom, it's 885. If it breaks the top, it's more 931. So like a 932 stop would be the play. Peloton, it's about 15 cents in the money, 20 cents in the money. It's gone a little bit more than that. I'm still sitting in front of 40 even VWAP. We got one more reload in front of 85. I got a bid in front of 40 in VWAP. I got a bid in front of the previous pre-market high at 39.70 as that works in the money. It's just these three trades. I'm looking to get into blue, but only when it breaks out of the range. Apple, much like Friday, I'm kind of feeling comfortable holding on to this one potentially a little bit longer. I might just say forget it and take it out in front of the high of the day and then start buying dips into VWAP. But let's ride the train here. I mean, Apple did
Facebook
not.
340.
It didn't break this 170. I mean, the Apple low was not 178.99 from what I could see. But either way, we could have the bottom here in Apple, so we could be holding on to it all day, just like Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say Facebook 340 for any momentum traders, Facebook or Meta, it is absolutely going nuts here. It's been going crazy all morning, but now it kind of settled in for a bit. And now next leg up, we're going to 340. So anyone who wants to play the 340 break, I'm not going to do it, but I'm just putting it out there as information that you can work with. Pfizer still taking off, now 220 in the money on Pfizer. I've got an eye on CRM to the upside north of 270, which looks like this. Somewhat thin. It's got a 20-cent spread. Yeah, around 20 cents. It's around 270. I just want to wait for it to trade. We've gotten as high as 270.57. So wait for it to trade a little bit more. Once we get more action here and confirmation that we're willing to trade above 270, there could be a long. And then Chewy, God, Chewy just absolutely gone from that 54. I wanted to see how it traded just below 54 because, you know, it was somewhat thin. So I'm like, oh, maybe we can actually wait for some. More information? No, it just wants to keep going. So
doing nothing.
Chewy's at 55 now after having broken through that 54. It started off its day at 51 and change. So there goes Chewy. There goes Facebook through 340. Pfizer's still going. Futures sideways. You know what? With all these names moving like this, I gotta keep a quick. Let me take a quick look at the NASDAQ futures. H22. 16,413 high, 16,252 low, finding a base. Yeah, okay. It's finding a base around that 250 area, which kind of makes sense. This is where the majority of the volume is on the futures here on the NASDAQ side of things. If we get north of 350, that would confirm this level for me. So it would make sense. If Meta is moving like this without the futures, imagine what it would do with the futures. Because again, it's a portion, it's in the top 10 in terms of weighting in the NASDAQ 100. So it's something to look at, definitely. So it's moving on its own. So when you look at that, you got to look at Apple as well. And we'll do that when we come back from Brennan.
Another little one just popping up here, relatively small anyways. Tabula Rasa Healthcare, TRHC. Anyone wondering, there's 24 million free float, market cap of 270. There was positive news back on Friday regarding opioids for this company. So popping up here to 15, it looks like on huge volume for this one, guys.
Yeah, Apple.
Okay,
we're talking about Apple. Absolutely. 182.22. Which one?
I was going to say high of the day on Apple.
Oh, is it a high of the day? It's 182. 182.22. We're like 70 cents away. Yeah, we're getting closer to the high of the day. Well, high of the session, which would include pre-market, which was 182.22 here. So we are about 60 cents away from the Apple high. So Apple moving back up. That means, you know, since we're looking at Facebook, Apple, let's take a quick look at some other index names here. Microsoft, okay, sideways, so that's not close. So it looks like it's going to be a solo move from Facebook, and maybe Apple might join the party. And to be fair, Apple's weighted close to 10 or 11%, 10.5 or 11% of the NASDAQ 100. So one stock is 10% out of 100 names. So it can move the index on its own if it wants to, as long as these other names are just going sideways. As long as Microsoft is not going down, Apple's going up, the index is going to go up. So you have Facebook helping you out as well. So you're getting some movement there. What do we got here? Piton coming back in on my positions here. Piton now. I know, Neil, you've got a much better price than I do, north of 40.50.
I'm still trying to get that first target, though.
What's your first target?
I'm actually, I'm sitting there at 21, so it's like 8 cents away, and it keeps bouncing away. I should tell you guys
21?
I took some profit in front of VWAP and 300 on Nvidia because the last reload's giving you a couple of dollars here. So I'm going to take that profit and hold on to the last of Nvidia and Apple. I'm still sitting on Piton. It's 40.21 is actually the bid there. So right in front of VWAP, I'm just. Yeah, it's not 420, it's 40.21 there I'm sitting in front of, so no need to hit that key. I just got into blue, by the way, finally, to the downside. It broke 885, so we did get triggered into the short on BLU. Obviously, the long, yeah, I mean, I'm not too happy about the way the long played out, but look, you put a stop in, you say, I think the momentum is broken if it takes out 750, and that's what I believed. And sometimes the stock just has to stop a bunch of people out and then relieve some pressure and then go to the upside. And if you have rules, a lot of time you're going to get punked, right? So that's what happened to us this morning, and obviously you can't cry over spilt milk. You have to find the next trade. It just put a failure at the high of at the top, trying to break out, comes right back down, breaks that support level. So I'm now in BLU. I'll give it to that high of the day, which makes a little bit of sense to give it to that level. And I think if it retraces, it should come down into VWAP, if not even $8. So into blue to the south side this time. Look, I'm complaining about the long. It was a good trade to the long side, but when you're getting an average price around $7.50 and I'm getting 35 to 40 cents and it ends up being $1 trade, you're not going to be, or even more than $1 trade, you're not going to be too happy about that, which is the case. So shaking out of blue, I'm now in the short side of that.
I see the chat talking about Tesla. Yeah, Tesla took quite the nosedive here. For anyone who's watched me trade, Tesla is like just too expensive. For me, the issue with Tesla is when you get to a certain price point, liquidity becomes not a problem. In Tesla's case, not a problem. It just becomes harder to read volume, at least for me. And I kind of not just base my trades on charts, but I also base it on volume. So we are coming to support. There's something to do. I don't know what it is. I'm not even going to look at it. But Tesla's moving around for anyone who cares, for looking for names. Market just turned. We're finding a bid here at support for any of these index names. So you're seeing Facebook take off now, north of 340. Now it's at 341. I'm sure Apple's getting closer to its daily highs here. It's at 182. A high is about 20 cents away. So that's getting interesting, spicy, I guess you could call it. Piton is coming back in, so that's helping my case. I am looking for CRM longs, by the way, like I mentioned to you guys, north of 270 on CRM. Just waiting for a little bit more, just a little bit more trading before I step in. If I do step in, it's going to be 270 long, 270-ish long with a 268 stop. So we'll leave that alone. And let's move the stop on Pfizer.
I'm making an adjustment. I actually just see somebody on the, whoops, oh my goodness, I just did that mistake that you should never make. So a bit of a lesson here, and if Prad's listening, he's probably heard me say this, or any trader that's been on our flow probably heard me say this. When you go to adjust an order on a stock which is moving a lot, which in this particular case, I saw an offer at 40.29 when I was sitting at 40.21 on Peloton, and I've been sitting here trying to get out in front of VWAP, and I said to myself, I'm just going to go and hit that offer. What you should always do in that particular case, if you only mean to have one exit, not two, and you want to hold on to the rest of the shares, you cancel first. Cancel the bid first, and then hit the level. Don't hit the level and then hope that you'll be fast enough to cancel when essentially it's right there. Because what ends up happening, the second I hit enter on that order to buy the bid, I hit it and then someone comes in and sells and then I get double out. And then a lot of times the reason that's happening is someone's looking for that and they're just waiting to release some pressure and then there's the flush, right? So I just took out 2 legs instead of 1 in front of 40.20. It's still a profitable trade, but a bit of a mistake that I just made. It's just like if you're making an adjustment, cancel the actual order sitting out there and then make the adjustment on the new order. Don't leave it sitting out there in the ether if you don't want to get both fills. I did it. Look, it's profitable. It's fine. It's just an obvious mistake that I think it's kind of a rookie mistake, to be honest with you. Is we all make them from time to time. It's just going to happen to everybody, basically. Apple looks like it did pull back off of 182. I mean, obviously, I said I would take some profit out in front of the high of the day. It got really close, and I was looking to maybe get something closer to 180, 180 or so, and the pullback was pretty quick. So I didn't take anything out. I'm on the bid in front of VWAP to reload Apple if I can, with the market trying to make a bit of a bounce here. And I like that Apple trade. So, I'm going to see if I can't get some in front of VWAP. I'm holding on to NVIDIA, which is in the money. Obviously, the Peloton short is working for now. The other one is Moderna. We had the quick stop out in the short, and I've been sitting it out till 280. It's right up close to that 275 mark. I still think there's room for it to go, and maybe 280 is going to be that level. We'll see what happens. Lucid, if you're tracking, right back down toward that bottom. I can't believe I'm not short this. The long was good up to $40, so it was a good $1.50 win on the second leg of that trade, but I should have reversed it when 140 failed. Tesla, if you're looking for a place to try to bottom pick this, try to keep in mind when it came down here the last time, you had that wick down. I mean, it was really, the support was about 270 or so. So I'm looking down back towards like 265, 270 potential support. I mean, if you go all the way back in the daily chart, you're looking, I mean, yeah, it gets a little bit more ridiculous. Start thinking about levels like 250. I don't think we're necessarily there yet. I think 65 to 70 could be that first stop. Like I said, NVIDIA, Apple holding on, Peloton holding on to the short, and then back over to another runner from earlier on today, that hog, Harley Davidson. I don't know if you got into that one.
No, I'm actually looking. I was thinking about the long around that 42.50 mark.
Well,
now I'm thinking about the short below 40.
So the level that I was looking for to short it was if it took 41, I kind of liked it to come back below that price. It then stopped on a dime at 41 at the open, ran to 44. It's now stopped again at 41, 41.33, gone up to VWAP. So if it reverses through 41. I guess I'm going to have that short on in Peloton, in Harley Davidson. Again, it's just more about how far it came, how strong that 14% is still pretty strong. It was even more than that. And you've double bounced here since the open. You bounced twice off 41 even. I feel like if it takes that, that's going to be kaput. It's the same way I feel about NVIDIA, where I'm not reloading in front of 97 again. Either 97 holds and I've got the bottom on NVIDIA, or it doesn't and I'm out. Thankfully, we've taken some profit on NVIDIA, not nearly as strong as Apple. And speaking of the chip space, AMD here, if it'll load up quickly enough for me. I always type New York first, then I have to wait for it to flush out. AMD holding a much better higher low than NVIDIA. So it's got some relative strength, but it's also under pressure. If this bottom gets taken and NVIDIA somehow hasn't broken its low, I would be utterly shocked. NVIDIA is right at the low of the day, whereas AMD showing relative strength. So might have backed the wrong horse here in terms of the chip names, but we're not wrong yet, right? I mean, 97 still has to break for me to be wrong there. And Peloton now down through 40 even, because obviously.
Yeah, it's about time, Peloton. Get moving now. We've established the resistance level. It's been there for the last day now, and now today as well. So it's about time we get moving. Remember, we're looking at 38 even as at least the first target here. I'm not touching this. Neil was trying to get out a penny ahead of where I was short. So this says a lot about pricing, right? He was well priced, north of 40.5. And I was just below 40.20, or I was at 40.20. And we're both waiting for this move to extend to the downside. Market bounced a little bit, finding some stability. It is still inside support level. So what am I going to do with the future is the way I'm going to have to kind of set this trade up. Remember, I did want a support set up for the long. We are still good until 46.70. Problem is, the way it's been moving, it doesn't allow for any longs until we get back above 4,700, preferably 47.05-ish. So I'll leave it alone. This is how I trade. So, it might be different, and 30-point moves in the futures or 20-point moves in the futures might seem somewhat large, but I'm okay with the way I kind of, swing these trades. So I'm perfectly okay letting it come back 20 points. As I talk, though, GME just broke 147.50. I had just alerted. So GME's taking another leg to the downside here. After stalling around 150, there could be a trade here, and NVIDIA just took the low as well. So two shorts here coming on the table. GME being one and NVIDIA being the other. I got to figure out what GME. Yeah, I want part of GME on the short side.
Are you sure NVIDIA didn't break 97, did it? No.
Yeah, it did. Below 297.50.
Okay, I see what you
Yeah. So that was like not 297 exactly.
Distinction without a difference. Like you said it, it's like, okay, well, 3 seconds later, I just got stopped out of NVIDIA myself. So it's now taken the low. The only reason, and again, everyone's style is going to be different, but if you're not taking profit up here, like you're just only going to be negative dip buying NVIDIA. Our style usually when we dip buy and you're going against the grain is to take profit on the way up. I didn't reverse into the short side of the trade because I think AMD is still holding up a little bit here. And if it holds the low, I could see NVIDIA trying to make a bit of a bounce. I don't want to get too far away from this NU, although it's holding a bit of a bid. I thought with this pullback coming back deeper that we'd be able to get closer to $10 on NU, but it's holding up pretty nicely above $11 here. So a stock that could run. If it resists this and the market can get back to the upside, NU looks like one of those that could find a bid, though down 7%. Already 10.20. Let's get you to Brennan in the small cap recap.
Hey guys, yeah, busy morning. Kind of a choppy morning in small cap world. I'll show you a few here. VERU, nice break of 7. This was 7 that was holding in the pre-market there. So just kind of one and done on the breakdown of 7. Comes all the way back into 620 now. Should have held a little bit more of that one. Nice move back to the downside though for VERU. AVCT, we were talking here just before the open about this one. It just never gave you another push back into some levels from back on Friday here. I had offers higher, but never got filled. So that was it. Couldn't really do much. at this point if you held on to some shares. Good move to the downside. FHTX, got to be very careful with this one. Tried it a couple times. Super thin stock. Very huge range on this as well. 16, 19 and a half at the top there. It's trying to hold 1850 right now. It keeps getting up into the 30s, 1825, 1830, and then fails back below 18. So watch 18 and then 18 and a half here. Trying to work its way back to the downside for FHTX, guys. Back to you.
PME just taking off. Fill me first, please. It's at 146 and change now. After breaking that 147.50, yeah, it was 148 actually. After taking that out, here we are at 146 and change. I like the setup. I'm going to leave the order. I do like the setup. So in the event that it decides to come back up at some point, I'll take the fill and move back up. Another order that I want a part of, no, not Chewy. What was the other one? NVIDIA. NVIDIA also moving aggressively to the downside. Futures, it's starting to lose ground a little bit on that little sideways move that we had. Now it's starting to head back to the downside. NVIDIA also moving back now through that 298, 297.50 area. I was keeping an eye on how it was trading around there. If we got below, I think that sets up the trade. So I do want to participate in the short. I don't think I'm going to get the fill now. So I may have to just put the order out, wait for a fill on the way back up. Futures as a whole, like I mentioned, is going sideways. So what does that mean for index names? Okay, Facebook, what are you doing? Stalling at 340. With the move that it's given you, the type of setup that it's kind of worked into, I'm not sure where you can even go short. Like it has to be somewhere south of 334, I would think, just to clear out some previous highs that could act as support going down. So you got to keep an eye on Apple as well when the market.
Yeah, back to 180.
Perfect. Go to 179. I'll go for a short on Apple below 179.
Yeah, I mean, below 179, that's where I'm stopping out on Apple. So I'm definitely going to be thinking the same thing there. And I did not reverse. I mean, I obviously should have reversed in NVIDIA. I'm glad you got it there. Tesla starting to break down again. So just hit that low one more time here, just breaking that 973. Obviously, we just a couple of minutes ago talked about this, getting down to 970 is a potential bottom. And AMC, another one heading right down to its low of the day. This is SSR, by the way, AMC. And how do I know that? Well, because when it made that double bottom at 24.50, couldn't actually get the fill hitting the bid. Sometimes when it's short sell restricted, as it breaks a level, there's an uptick that allows you to get a fill. In this particular case, unable to do so. But AMC, fresh lows here on the session. You know, if it gets another pop, maybe we can short a pop here on AMC. But the market really starting to fade. I just got another target on Peloton. I'm just down to Apple long, which is going to test that 179. It seems almost inevitable. And the Peloton short, which just gave me another leg out at 39.50. So obviously the shorts are pretty good at this point in Peloton, much like Friday. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, this is a trade that worked. It's not showing our trades here, but you guys, if you watched, it was exactly the same thing. It breaks 40 at the open, fails to get through that 41 level, and then just starts falling. And the same thing we did before, where we're out in front of 40, we're out some in front of that 39, that low of the day, and then we'll see if we can't ride it down to 38 even. But even Apple today seems like it's going to get cracked, and that long not going to work out. We'll see. If 179 holds, fair enough, but it's not feeling like it wants to right now, Arun.
No, it's not. I looked at the chat. Someone's like daring me to go short Apple. I mean, I don't care what the stock does. Yeah, I'm like, if the stock wants to go down, the stock wants to go down. I'm gonna go short.
That's a good reason to take a position.
Right. It's like, oh, I want to see you go short. I mean, like, if the setup is there, I gotta take the shot, right? That's how trading works. It doesn't matter how I feel about the name. So NVIDIA is short. I've got the offer out. I've got GME. GME's gone. It's at 144. I still want that fill though. I'm waiting like almost $3 from where this is. It is accelerating to the downside hard and fast. So, I mean, I guess I got to wait for the pullback. It's still at 144. Let me pull up the level 2 for you guys. This is what it looks like. And it is not SSR. We're getting close, though. We are getting close. Probably another maybe 60 cents. Probably like 143 something would probably get you to SSR, I would imagine.
It's not SSR now.
No,
check for Friday's price though. Like,
well, it says down 9%. We're getting close though. Probably maybe 143 even is probably the SSR level. And there goes Apple. Oh, okay. I guess that dare is going to be happening soon.
you want to let it trade.
I want that short at 179.
Let it trade through the price, bro. Like, Apple's too thin.
Oh no, I'm not going to take. I don't take it on breaks. I actually want to trade. I wanted to trade below 179. There's conditions attached to me taking shorts or trades in general. I'm not going to do it because somebody wants me to do it. This is a trade attached to conditions. So if we trade below 179 and go for the short, it needs to trade well below 179. There could be a trade there. I'm keeping an eye on Apple. I want GME, but GME is probably going to be, GME is like $4 away from where I want to get a fill. So I'm going to cancel GME's order. That doesn't make any sense anymore. It can bounce back too hard. NVIDIA, where's NVIDIA? Let's take a quick look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA can still get filled. And Chewy, I probably should cancel that bid. I had a bid on Chewy at 53 and change, but Chewy is probably slowing down. So we're going to move Chewy out of the way as well. And we're just going to manage the Piton short, Pfizer long, and then Apple, I'm looking for the short south of 179, but 179 is holding well. So we're going to wait a little bit before we step in on the short side on Apple.
It's going to hold much longer.
I don't care if it breaks, so I want to see how it trades below 179.
Yeah, I just got out of my Apple, so I'll do this for Apple, which was so good before. It just took out that bottom. As I look at Apple taking out the low, I got to go back over to Microsoft because, obviously that did a little bit better, and it's still holding up a little bit higher. So, Microsoft still got a little bit of relative strength. AMC, give me a break. It's now $1 from that $24.50 when it broke the low of the day, but when it's short sell restricted, there's no guarantees you're going to get that fill when it breaks. Microsoft just turned red on the day, so it's holding up a heck of a lot better. It's the only tech name I can see. Microsoft and Facebook, but they're both starting to come back in. I got Peloton short, and that's about it because AMC was a swing and a miss. If AMC wants to pop from here, if AMC wants to pop from here, I'm probably looking back to 25 in VWAP. I'm not going to chase this down like 15%. It's way too far to be chasing this one to that downside. Moderna, which was the other name that we're looking to get into for the short side of the trade, never got up to that 285 level. It's actually starting to make its turnaround around 275. If it gets through 270, that would be a decent short, but I still like the top much better. And Harley Davidson was the one that we thought was about to come in through 41. That actually bounces a little bit, so it's back into VWAP. I still think it's valid. It gets back below that 41 mark, and we're going to jump into the short on Harley Davidson. And again, just go to the daily chart. That 200 period moving average sits right at 41. It looks a little bit dirty when you look at the 1 minute, but we get back below that 41 price, on the 200 period moving average on a day like today. And I think there's going to be some profit takers in there. So I'm holding on to the shorts because the shorts are working today. On Friday, it was hold on to the dip buy in Apple. I think the way to go here is to hold on to the short instead.
Hold on to the shorts, but this is futures at a critical level for me at least. 46.70. We kind of got below there by a point or so. That's not much, but right here, if we can't, this is the last little bit. If this is like 1 point or so, roughly, from where we should find our last bit of support. If we don't get this, I can see this going down another 10 points. But I'm not going to take the short at 70 though. So what I've got is, remember, the trail on this was 47.05. I said if it got above 47.05, I'd go for the long. Well, that means if that's my level that I was going to use to go long, that could also be my new stop if we end up below 46.70. So what I'm going to have to do is get it below 46.70 or let it trade below 46.70. Then I'm going to have to put an offer higher because I don't want them short 46.70. That's too much of a risk for the short down there, especially when you have support not too far away. So if I'm going to put up the risk, it's got to be somewhere close to 80. So I'm going to have to get the market's going to have to keep falling, and then I'm going to have to put the offer down close to 46.80 and then risk the 25 to 20, 30 points or so in risk that I'm going to do. And if I'm going to do that, I know I can actually maybe be confident about the fact that I can get another 30 points or so if we were to take out the lows. So this is more of a finesse trade. As I talked, though, GME now at 140, just broke 143 now. It's south of 140, so almost at 142 now. There goes GME. Pfizer holding up well in this market. I'm still trying to get a fill on NVIDIA. Apple, I'm definitely keeping an eye on because I do want that short. I don't want to jump on it just yet. I'm waiting a little bit more. We want to make sure that the short is still valid, or it is valid. So maybe a little buy move to the upside that gets failed. That would give me the indication that any buying is done. So I'm going to wait on Apple. NVIDIA, like I mentioned, is out there. And Pfizer's just gone sideways after getting above 55, so all we're going to do is just manage it, right? The stop is just south of 54.50. That locks in just underneath $1.50 in profit, and I've already dumped half, so we're just going to have to manage this one out. So looking for more shorts as the futures look to break 46.70. Brendan.
All right, thanks so much, guys. Yeah, we are thrilled once again to have Ben Samaru, CEO and director of WonderFi, joining us today, along with Marshall Salmon, managing partner and co-founder of Animal Capital. WonderFi announcing today, hey guys, good to have you on the show. Welcome. WonderFi announcing a new partnership, financial literacy partnership with Josh Richards and the guys from Animal Capital to both promote, I guess, financial literacy in the younger generation and also add in some education as well. It's great to have Marshall with us today to tell us a little bit about what this means for Animal Capital. Marshall, give us a description here. What are we talking about when we mean this initiative as far as financial literacy is concerned? Like, this is going to span multiple different platforms and involve multiple different angles for getting people more educated in the financial industry.
Multiple different platforms, multiple different angles, and multiple different generations. I really, sort of firmly believe that what, Animal Capital, although it is a sort of typically structured venture capital firm, our entire premise is we're supposed to be not only, investing well for our LPs, but educating sort of the masses and their opportunities to not only save money, but to make money in a mostly safe and cost-effective way for their future. The guys that I work with, Josh Richards, Griffin Johnson, Noah Beck, all work really, really hard, not only in their forward-facing careers, but they work hard for their families to make sure that they are oftentimes putting bread on the table or putting their siblings through college. So DeFi at its core is about financial literacy and financial security for all. And so we really hope that with Money Goals, we're able to just teach some of those really, really basic lessons so that folks aren't just throwing their money into some garbage coins and walking away or losing their money, but thinking about a more wholesome strategy, even if that's just a one or two pronged strategy that'd be hugely successful for us.
When it comes to Money Goals, I love that title as well. Everyone should and must, I guess, at some point in their life have money goals to discuss. What are we talking about here when it comes to some of these events, some of these scheduled appearances? Kevin O'Leary involved in this as well. What are we talking about as far as what people can expect from this experience?
I think the core of what people can expect is really, really, really relatable content and some how-tos. The goals, I think that our first episode is going to most likely focus on exactly how Josh and Kevin not only got into the space, but the approach that they've taken into the space, so people can sort of see the way that they can make their own wedge into crypto and into the DeFi space. And beyond that, we're going to have a slew of really, really exciting guests that come on and talk about not only their experiences and the why, but exactly what their how has looked like and what has worked and what has not worked. On top of that, I'll be talking with Ben, regularly in front of the same audience to make sure that people understand how to layer some of these strategies together, because oftentimes, folks like Kevin, who are somewhat geniuses in the space, can be talking maybe too high of a level. So we're going to make sure that we're attacking every different audience that might be tuning in.
Ben Samaru, CEO and director of WonderFi, back with us as well. It's great to have Ben again on the show. Ben, tell us from the WonderFi side of things what this means, this Money Goals initiative means for the company.
We're really excited about Money Goals. It fits right within our mandate of accessible and inclusive finance. And like Marshall said, everybody has different levels of understanding and knowledge coming into crypto, DeFi, or just personal finance in general. And so we're really fortunate to have the relationship with Marshall and his firm Animal Capital, Josh Richards and others that are involved there, who have really unique experience and backgrounds and just have a great lens on not just Gen Z, but as Marshall said, a number of different generations. And this really helps us make finance more accessible and inclusive through this Money Goals initiative. And so in addition to being able to talk about the how and the why, it's also something that's open to people to submit questions during these sessions to be able to interact with some of these individuals who are, whether they're finance experts or experts in the crypto space or influencers, celebrities, et cetera, to really kind of engage and make this, a compelling series for everybody to tune into.
And I think much needed and very exciting to have the ability to tap into that kind of resource for that generation. Let's talk about WonderFi here, Ben. Here's the headline from this morning: to release WonderFi app on desktop coming January 25th. Tell us about that. Exciting.
Yeah, so we have extremely high demand for the WonderFi app. It just shows that there's so many people that want to get into the crypto space and get into DeFi and just don't have an easy access point yet. So we're super excited to bring this product to market. We've been working really hard on it and doing a lot of testing with users, people that don't have a crypto or a DeFi background and that just want to get some exposure in the space. And so January 25th is the big date. We'll go live with the app, and it's going to be available in a lot of different places. And I think it's going to be a game changer for people that want to access the space.
Going back to last month, WonderFi announced that the shares of the company would be listed in a tokenized form on the FTX exchange, which was a shift, I guess, in both the space and the approach, which was very interesting, Ben. I'd love to get your take on this. How has it been going, first of all, having the listing on FTX? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I won't try and compete with Sam Bankman-Fried's explanation of how the tokenized stocks actually work. I saw his segment on an interview with yourself on Trader TV, which is excellent. But what this does for WonderFi is it really allows people to buy WonderFi stock anywhere in the world, 24/7, and really it actually allows people to buy WonderFi stock without having a bank account effectively, because through FTX, you can access and purchase WonderFi with crypto, Bitcoin, ETH, or stable coins. So it's really interesting. I think it's exactly what we're trying to do, which is break down barriers in the existing financial industry. And so the stock market is one where, there's limited hours. There's definitely barriers for people to be able to get on and buy stocks that they want based on jurisdiction, access to banking, a number of other barriers that sit in the way. And so this listing for us, which is really the first Canadian company to get listed in this way on FTX, we're now in the company of the Coinbases and Teslas and MicroStrategies of the world to have their stocks tokenized and listed on FTX. It's really exciting and just again goes back to the theme of accessible finance from our perspective.
So Money Goals, the new initiative launched today between Animal Capital and WonderFi, guys, kicks off on January 5th at 2 p.m. on Instagram. Marshall, if anyone wants more information on this, what to expect, where's the best place for them to go?
I think just on Instagram. I think go make sure you're following WonderFi on Instagram and I think on Twitter as well. We're going to be posting a lot of information both before, during, and after the episodes to make sure that anything that we talk about is available kind of for forever.
Marshall Sandman, director of. I apologize. Ben Samaru is CEO and director of WonderFi. Marshall Sandman, managing partner and co-founder of Animal Capital. A pleasure, guys. Thanks so much. This is exciting. We look forward to an update.
Thanks for having us.
Have a great day. There we go, guys. An update from our friends at WonderFi.
Absolutely. Good to get some good news here in the falling market a little bit. Obviously, coming in on Monday, it's weak. We tried NVIDIA a couple times, scalped that one out, and then took the hit on the rest of it. Apple, sort of the same story. And I just want to come to Tesla here, which I have not traded, by the way. I haven't traded Tesla at all today as I get try to load it back up here for you guys. Basically, I'm just holding on to a Peloton short. I'm looking hogs through 41 to the south side. There's a couple of other names. I think Vivek in the chat was talking about FHTX. That's on my radar as well. But Tesla right down into that 265 area for support. It's trying to catch a bit of a bid down here. You are still seeing the market flush. I'm not there for liking even the Tesla long just quite yet, but there is something which is bouncing a little bit that we missed it the first time. And not the long, we got the long on Lucid and able to take it up to 40, but we missed a short trade the first time, and now you're coming back into VWAP here, and I'm looking at Lucid to try to jump into this one at 39. It's a little bit shallow, but again, if it breaks VWAP, I can be out for a tighter stop trade and then look for the better price up around 40, but it's a chance to get back into this. There's a bit of a level at 39, like maybe like 30 or 40,000 shares. So it's not like you're just in front of air here. I'm shorting 98s. I'm not getting out if that 39 breaks. I do want to give it, like 25 cents or so, maybe a touch more than that. And I'll be scalping it out in front of 38.50 and then trying to see if it breaks that 38 price level. Now, on Lucid, that 38 isn't a monster level. It did hold the first time we shorted those 42s last week. 38 was a hard bottom. But if you look at Friday's action, it was a 38.30 that was more support there. So, I do think taking some shares out in front of it is fine. I don't think it's an absolute wall at 38, but I am looking to see that level get taken out. So I should be short Lucid at 40. That's come and gone. Now we're short in front of that 39. We'll give it to 39.25.
All right, we're just going to manage what we've got here. We've got Pfizer, like I mentioned, 54.50 on the trail stop on Pfizer. Piton, we're going to leave it alone. There's enough space for Piton to go to the downside, so I'm not gonna move the stop on this. It's up 86 cents right now, but it hasn't gone far enough to justify moving the stop. Apple, I did take the short on Apple, so I see enough action below 179 to warrant taking the shot. So here we are short 178.99. So as close as possible as I could get to 179. Stop on this is just $2. North of 181, and we'll see how this one turns out. This one might be one of those trades that takes a decent amount of time to work itself out because it is getting a lot of action on both sides around that 179. So we could either bounce hard right through the top and put in a new high, or we're going to fall off a little bit. What are the markets down? NASDAQ down 0.84% and S&P down 0.68. I am also looking for trades on the futures as well. Not yet, though. I want to see a little bit more before I start putting offers down on futures. I'm probably going to get as close as possible to 46.80. If I can't get 46.80, I can't justify a short below there, but we are going to wait a little bit on the futures before I step into that as well.
And just an alert here, I see Sigma has halted to the upside along with all of you here. It halted about a minute or so ago, just under a minute. So looks like about probably a 5-minute halt, but right at that $16 range. I'm seeing an indicated, by the way, guys, I'm seeing an indicated open. It's an up halt at 1502. So like it's halted up, and it looks like, at least for now, well, that's actually jumped up to 1577. So initially it was looking like it was going to open down on that up halt, and now indicating 69. It's all over the place, but every single price update I've seen, now 15, 14, again, it's just all over the place, but they're all below the current levels. This could actually open back to the south side here, and if it does, the way I'm going to be approaching it is simply looking at that 16 as resistance. That's where it failed on the pop and drop at 9:30. I give it like 16.20 or so as the high. But look, if this is going to open to the downside or even flat, it's kind of a sign of weakness that immediately people are looking to dump it. I have finally, it took all morning, gotten into that hog trade below 41. It wouldn't break it at the open. It wouldn't break it at 10.10. It has broken it now. So short hog for the first time today, 40.96. Like I said, Lucid also got into the short in front of that VWAP as well. It should be 40, but you take it where you can. Harley Davidson, strong move with the SPAC play, but now back below that key level 41. Am I going to take some out in front of 40? Yeah, of course. That's how we do it.
I'm going to join you on hog on the short, but I'm going to wait until we get below 40 even before I step into the short. You can see the resistance building on hog north of 42.50. That's what made me hesitate on the long, and now we're starting to leak a little bit. Just take out 40 and I'll step in on the short side. So we've got 3 trades on, all in the money at the moment. Piton, Apple short, Pfizer long. Pfizer's been in the money for a while now, so we just got to manage that one out. Futures, like I mentioned, I just want to trade. I want to get us below 46.70 a little bit more. I knew there was going to be action around 46.70. That's why I marked it off as a level. A little bit more sell side action, then I can step in on the short side. But I'm going to have to put an offer because I don't want these prices. Well, let's take a quick look at NVIDIA because I put the order out and I walked away on NVIDIA. Offer's still there. Trade's still good. So we're going to leave the order out just north of 297 and change on NVIDIA. Maybe we get filled on the move back up. I've got nothing else apart from NVIDIA. And obviously the one name I would have loved to have short, GME. I got the alert when it broke 148, and here we are at 141. Yeah, that's GME for you guys. On 1.5 million shares getting rocked to the downside. It is now SSR. That means you cannot outright short this. You have to either short this on an uptick or you have to offer in. So those are the new rules when a stock goes SSR. For anyone who doesn't know, It just limits the ability for shorts to kind of hit the bid. You cannot hit the bid unless you see the level. You see this green arrow, or not the green arrow, the green background on the level 1 price here. Anytime it's red, you cannot short. Anytime it's green, you can. That's just an uptick versus a downtick. So you have to you can short on an uptick. You can offer in, but you cannot short on a downtick. So you can't have a bunch of sell orders come in on the same direction with shorts as well. So it can be sold and shorted at the same time. So anytime it's red or anytime it's green, you can definitely go for a short. A lot of times what you're going to see though, this restricts when the numbers go through, when it goes through round numbers like 140 even or whatnot, it's going to stay red. That means people aren't going to be able to just absolutely short the round numbers. So you miss out on these breaks to the downside when a stock does this, right? For now though, while we're waiting for GME to take to the downside, we're going to go to Brendan at the big screen.
A bit of a late look at Sector Watch today. We'll talk about what is moving around as far as the overall S&P 500. Brought to you by Masterworks this week is Sector Watch. Down 0.6% right now for the overall market. Here is why. Consumer discretionary is leading as a group right now. That's Tesla, 4.8%, Ford and GM, all down 4% for the automakers today. So under significant pressure, some of the travel names coming back in on the weak side as well. So cruise lines, airlines, even the hotels, all to the downside today, anywhere from 3.5% to kind of 5.5% for some of the cruise operators. Industrial stocks also under pressure with the airlines leading the way. This is the tech group. These are going to switch back and forth a little bit here, but some of the software makers you can see adding a little bit of positive influence on the overall market. Otherwise, though, semiconductors, hardware makers, both in negative territory. Shift over to this side of the board. Healthcare stocks in positive territory right now, led by Moderna, Pfizer, and Bristol Myers. 3.75% to the upside for Bristol Myers today. So healthcare stocks helping to offset. That's the energy group in the far corner there. Overall, pretty red-looking board at this point. Just saw Facebook up 2% on the day in the communications group. It's one of those days, 0.5% for the overall market. Again, some healthcare strength and tech strength, specifically from the software group leading the way. As I said, Sector Watch brought to you this week by Masterworks, guys, the first and only investment platform you can use to invest in SEC securitized artworks. Artworks available from Banksy, from Picasso, contemporary art, outpacing, if you can believe that, the S&P 500 by 174% from 1995 right through to 2020. Art as an asset class has proven to outperform during times of inflation as well, which is, if you missed it, right now. Like right now with inflation at 6.8% as of last week. Now to skip the wait list today with the link in the live chat, check out Masterworks and start investing in art. Masterworks.io, guys.
Inflation is no joke and certainly rearing its, look, it's not rearing its ugly head specifically today. We got that print last week. The key thing this week is tomorrow and then Wednesday, of course, the Fed coming through. And look, if the taper's moved up and again, they double the pace of the tapering, that sets you up for possibly raising rates. And if there's any signal that rates could be going up as early as potentially March, right? Then you could have 3 rate hikes next year, which I think the market's not, growth stocks aren't going to like a heck of a lot. And the overall market, which is being dragged up by those big tech names, could come under some pressure. Still looking for, on SGMA, by the way, I'm still looking at it. Obviously, it looks like it's a 10-minute volatility halt, not 5 minutes, or it would be open back up. The indicated open, which the entire time was sitting at the low, sitting below 15 to 1570, it's now indicating opening up at 1662. So it is now opening to the upside. Obviously, that means I'm not shorting it in front of 1620. That goes without saying. The only things working today, man, those are your shorts. Got run over on a bunch of longs today. Despite the fact they initially worked a couple of times, dip buying Apple and Nvidia, eventually the floodgates opened up. I've added, so this is going to look interesting. Obviously, we shorted Peloton off 41 and then took some winners, but triple bottom here at 39. I just added to my short at 39 because this is what it looks like. If this continues to fall, I don't see why we don't go down to 38. So when that level gets broken, I add to the position here and looking to take it out in front of that 38 level. So Peloton continues to be weak. It's kind of a weak catalyst anyways, the fact that it was trying to be up on a commercial. It's still up 1%, but the pop and fade works once again, then hold on to the weakest names to the south side. BFRI, another one in play. I don't want to miss Sigma here, so obviously I'm going to be watching that when it does reopen. But BFRI, another one in play. Nowhere near that 680 top, but it's seemingly getting close. Now, obviously, it's had a bit of a failure thing. Oh, my chart's going to want to load. It's showing my trades from back when it was a good scalp short in front of 7 even, and then finding bottoms back at the 670, 680 area, and you're seeing it trying to break out at those prices. So watch out for BFRA. If you're shorting it at this level, it feels like a little bit of a trap. I think the better level is going to be 8, and then probably like a 935. Of course, my chart not wanting to load. My other one's going to show it just fine. But Sigma should be open relatively soon. That's likely to be the next trade just before we send you guys to Memes and Movers at the midday show.
Yeah, that's coming soon. We got about 10 minutes. Pratt talking trash in an internal chat right now. Absolute nuts. I'm watching, Apple short, I mentioned. We're short. It bounced hard, okay? Stop on this is north of 181. So, I mean, this story probably won't be done by the time our show ends. But come back for the afternoon show. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong on the Apple short, but for now, we are short Apple, we are short Peloton. Peloton's $1.27 in the money. Pfizer, looking like it wants to make another leg up. Okay, it stalled around 55. We moved this trailing stop to 54.50, and now moving back up towards its highs. Not too far away. We're about 20 cents away from its highs. Pfizer, all you can do is manage. That's all you can do on Pfizer. I'm still waiting to get filled on NVIDIA, actually. On the short here, I'm here waiting just underneath 298, 297 and change. So waiting for that one to get filled as well. I don't mind a short there. In futures, we are still, there's conditions that have not been met on the futures for me to go for the short just yet. I wanted 146.70 to get taken before I go for the short. I mean, we got there, but we never traded below there. So I'm still waiting for a little bit more trading to be done before I go for the short on the futures. There's a lot more attached. There's a lot more conditions attached to this short on the futures, especially as I wait for this market. Let's just take a quick look at the NASDAQ futures because I just noticed that Apple took out 180. So that means NASDAQ, are you moving? No, not as strong as I would have thought given Apple's movement. So what's holding it down? That's what we got to figure out. If it's not NASDAQ, or maybe take a look at Microsoft because that's the other big name. No, that's going sideways. Apple, Amazon would be another name we need to take a look at. What's Amazon doing? It's got to be one of those it's the top 6 names. I'm going to look at the top 6. Amazon's slightly weak, and then Google would have to be the final one at the top. And Tesla, I actually have to look at. Probably Tesla is probably holding it down. Yeah, somewhat of a bounce. I mean, it's not a whole lot, but Apple's move should have brought the index up a lot more. As I talk, Oracle just broke above 104. That's interesting.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. No, sorry.
Yeah, take it.
We'll ring a little Reggie on that Lucid. I mean, Peloton's going as well. I'm like, oh, what just triggered? Wow, Lucid just flushed. I had a bid at 38.50. 38.50 essentially in front of that 38.30 level that we dip bought. You know, that's going to be a target because I like that price on a higher time frame that you go back to last week, and that was resistance at 38.30. And obviously, it just got chewed through, so I could have put my bid closer to 38. I'm hanging on to the short trades for now. I just don't see anything else to do. Harley Davidson, I have not taken any profit on just yet. Peloton, that just cracked another level down, so it just broke to 39. We just added to our position now at 38.65. So when this happens in the morning, or it happens any day, like you have to start. Like you can want to dip buy as a strategy, but overall, if the shorts are working and you can't find good levels for the dip buys, then sometimes just hanging with the direction of the trade is the way to go, or sitting it out altogether. And I think it's a reasonable thing for most people to do. You aren't forced to trade. I'm trying not to force any long trades just yet. There are some interesting names getting to some bottoms here that I think could get held up at. I'm looking at Tesla down 5%. Still, I mean, it just bounced off a 960, trying to get back above that 975-ish price. If it can consolidate and hold a higher low, maybe it's got a chance, but it ain't doing it without the market. And that's just the harsh reality of what we're seeing. That Sigma, I had a trade that I really liked if it had opened, if it opened below that 16. Right now, I just want to see what happens at 1730, 1740. Those pre-market highs are going to be in play. And then you got to think about the reason why I'm not just jumping into a breakout is that Friday high at 18. I mean, as long as you have that as cover, I still think it's probably up here going to be a short. I'll take a long if it breaks Friday's high. Like if it goes above 18, this is like 18.12 or so. If it breaks above that, sure, let's take the breakout long. But until it goes there, it's still a fade in front of those prices. But I wouldn't short 16.50, 10% away. You'd want something a little bit closer to that 18 price. So no man's land for now on SGMA. Wow, time has flown. Only 3.5 minutes to go. Kind of crazy here that we're moving so far, and then we send you over to Trader Pratt and Miss V. I don't think there's much of anything on the way of earnings, but plenty of things to watch here. And that, by the way, that NES that you guys keep looking at, Hunter there, just make sure you check the terms of that deal. It's like a stock deal, so you're going to want to be careful while you're trading. And Peloton working like gangbusters, Lucid working well, Hog working well to the south side. I mean, I'd look at NVIDIA to try and buy a bottom again, but I think I'm done trying to bottom pick NVIDIA. We're thankful not to have gotten blown out on this because we were taking profit on the way up. But on my 15, you look below these levels and you're thinking support at NVIDIA could be closer to 288, 287, and if not down there at 280. So you're a ways away from that support. Arun's got, did you get the short NVIDIA yet? Or
No, I'm still waiting for a fill.
I was going to say, I'm like, Arun's looking short in NVIDIA, which is probably part of the reason I'm not looking to dip buy it yet. So it's got some room to run. And as I say this, there are levels that we should be taking some profit. Harley Davidson now breaking down to 40.50. I'm on the bid in front of 40 even. Again, this is my 15-minute chart, so you have the benefit of seeing the gap to the upside. The rest I would simply get out in front of the previous high. Like there's no way I'm letting this get to 39 without taking the rest of the profit on Harley Davidson. It's a great run for Hog, but a failed break at the top, and then the 200 period moving average getting reclaimed here at 41. That's why we went short.
Yeah, and I'm still waiting for that fill on the NVIDIA. I'm also looking at DocuSign now. Docu breaking below 142. Let me pull it up on the main screen here. Docu. Trading around 142. It was actually below. Because of the spread, you're noticing that it's actually kind of bouncing up and down below 142. But there's enough here. There could be a nice little trade. I'm just going to, again, like I do with everything else, I'm going to wait. You see the breakdown, right? The rebuilding.
Just confirm that you guys can hear me. I'm in what Arun's trying to get at, which is an important point there, so hopefully you guys can hear me, is that you got to be able to do your own thing. You don't trade someone else's book. You don't trade necessarily someone else's strategy. There's nothing against shorting anything.
There's no sound.
Period. Yeah. You guys are saying, yeah, you hear me now. So we'll get Arun fixed. But the more important thing, and I think we try to stress this, is you don't just sit there copying everybody else's trades. Like even in Peloton, like this is now 2 sessions in a row that both Arun and I like the same essential short on Peloton. We enter it a little bit differently. I take profits more aggressively. Arun's looking to hold for, much bigger growth before he gets his first target. But then I'm looking to not shotgun it, but be a little bit more aggressive with multiple entries and trying to scalp it back and forth at that high. So I have my way of approaching around that level. Arun has his way. We have our own way of doing things around here. One of those is making sure you get to see Miss V. Nope. Apparently I can't. Okay, we're not going to Miss V just yet. Apparently, I don't know, we're working through some issues, guys. But Peloton, speaking of Peloton, I just took some out in front of 38.50. The reload, if I get it, has to be closer to 39.50 at this particular point. Still riding the wave of the short trades. Even as I just said Tesla, trying to hold that bid, and maybe it can be a bit of a long. It just reversed a little bit off of 970 and still heading back to the downside. Once we get things resolved, we are going to send you guys to Miss V and Trader Pratt as well. But AMD, NVIDIA was breaking those lows. AMD now at the low of the day. So the only reason I wasn't quite reversing to the short on NVIDIA just yet was I would like to see what happens with AMD at its key 136 level. This is a big level here. It's Friday's bottom here at 136. But keep in mind, on that wipeout Monday last week, NVIDIA did spend a brief amount of time just lower here with a 135 bottom. So, a lot of names getting cracked. It's a lot of times at this particular point in the day, even on a down day, like you would see me in at least one, like on Friday, it was still an Apple long because that was a great bottom. But there's nothing that's held up for me today that I like. So long side, even hog on that news has turned into a bit of a short for me. So I think we are now good to send you guys over to Trader Prad and Miss V for the midday show.
It's Neil. Uh-oh.
All right, we're going to have to do it from here. Welcome back to Beams and Movers. I'm your host, Trader Pratt. This is the beautiful Miss V.
Hi guys, welcome back everyone. I hope you're having a great day so far. Please, as usual, be active on the chat, ask us anything, and we would really appreciate if you like this video. By the way, I wasn't been able to sign out there, but Neil, happy National Horse Day. Horse. Yes. Animal, horse.
Okay, the horse, the animal day. That's a pretty weird day.
Well, Neil loves horses.
He does love gifting the guest horse or not gifting the guest horse, something like that. But yeah, horse day, pretty cool day going on. Hi, I'm from Sao Paulo. You should go find out where Jude Fernando is because I think he's in Sao Paulo right now too. So hope everyone had a great weekend. There was a lot of fun activities. We had Formula One, we had UFC.